Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar&Brawl. Hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam, and we're back with another episode of the Progressive World. It's quite a packed one, and it should be fun. I mean, I'm really looking forward to these stories. I don't know about you, Sam, but should I start with a quick rundown, and then we'll get
Sure,
right
yeah,
into it?
please.
So here's a quick rundown, and please like and subscribe if you've been watching us for a while. It really helps, as you've heard from every single other YouTuber out there. But yeah, here's a quick rundown, and then timestamps are down below, so you can just go check out whichever story you prefer. So first, we're going to start with the whole Facebook thing going on, and we have some really funny clips and some really good clips, as well as an article by Matt Taibbi. So I would really recommend, if you're going to watch something, watch that. Then we're going to give a quick update on Julian Assange, which many of you might have heard. Then the Grayzone published a pretty good article, I would say, on Ethiopia with a lot of content in it. So we're going to discuss that and talk about everything in Ethiopia. And it seems to me that what the author of this Grayzone article, TJ Coles, is saying kind of counters what Ben Norton says. And I have a few tweets, so I'm going to run that past Sam and see what he thinks. Then we have a segment on Joe Rogan, which is kind of not bashing on him and neither defending him, but just pointing out a few stupid things. And it includes TYT and Anna Kasparian as well. Then we're going to move on to some country briefs. And then we have some news concerning border issues between UK and France, Iran nuclear talks, which are set to resume. So Sam is going to tell us all about that. And there was also a small conference with regional countries about Afghanistan and Iran. Sam will share updates concerning that as well. The G20 summit is starting. We have a short story on that. And finally, we're going to wrap up with what is happening in Sudan. And yeah, no progressive tweets this time. We're probably going to save them for our live on Sunday. All right, Sam, should we get into this first story?
Sure. I just wanted to say, yeah, when you mentioned the Joe Rogan thing, it's more of a clickbaity section of our show, isn't it? It's like it's more about, to be fair, Facebook thing. I mean, it's Facebook thing, I think, is going to be funnier, but it has
Yeah.
more substance to it. But yeah,
Oh, for sure.
let's
Yeah,
get
the
into
Joe Rogan one. I mean, I do make one point.
it's more funny,
Maybe,
just,
yeah,
yeah.
that is true.
Oh,
Fair enough.
yeah. I don't know about that. Yeah.
No, it's a
Gonna get a
small one.
live reaction.
But okay, all right. Let's switch to share screen and watch some of these videos and discuss the whole Facebook saga.
So yeah, before we watch the first video or comedy sketch, we're gonna start with the comedy and work our way to more serious stuff. It's not, we mentioned the Facebook thing in our opening, but we forgot to. It's more about, I think, online censorship, the segment, than just the Facebook thing, because we're gonna move on to the whole YouTube censorship and Novara Media's recent thing, which we'll discuss later. I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and I actually don't know if we're going from comedy to serious. It's kind of like comedy, serious, comedy, like a little bit of seriousness. So I don't think it's
Yeah,
exactly.
the
But all right,
lines between reality and comedy have become too blur. Yeah. Anyway.
yeah. So this one is just a straight up one. This first video is a testimony of the Facebook whistleblower. And she's really like damaging the name of the whistleblowers to another level. And
She's definitely not a CIA agent, by the way.
yeah,
Definitely not a CIA agent.
no. And so apparently she gave her testimony in the US, and now she's doing the same thing in the UK. So she's probably on a little tour. Maybe she'll show up at the EU Commission or something next. Okay. All right, let's watch this short clip of hers first.
A Facebook whistleblower has repeated allegations that the social media giant stokes online hate and extremism to drive up profit. Frances Haugen says Facebook fails to regulate its content and is aware of its detrimental effect on young people. Now, in her testimony to UK lawmakers, Haugen said the social media giant described children's usage of Instagram in terms of addiction.
Facebook puts making money before the welfare of its billions of users. That's the central allegation against Mark Zuckerberg's empire. In her testimony to British lawmakers, whistleblower Frances Haugen claimed that for Facebook, hate-mongering is a cost-cutting solution.
An ad that gets more engagement is a cheaper ad. We have seen that over and over again in Facebook's research, it is easier to provoke people to anger than to empathy or compassion. And so we are literally subsidizing hate on these platforms. It is cheaper substantially to run an angry, hateful, divisive ad than it is to run a compassionate, empathetic ad.
Haugen was a data scientist at the heart of the company for 2 years before she quit and leaked the so-called Facebook papers. She also singles out Facebook-owned Instagram as the platform most harmful for young people. Facebook knows it, she says, and cashes in on it.
Facebook's own reports say it is not just that Instagram is dangerous for teenagers, it is actually more dangerous than other forms of social media. When kids describe their usage of Instagram, Facebook's own research describes it as an addict's narrative. As an addict's narrative. The kids say, this makes me unhappy. I feel like I don't have the ability to control my usage of it. And I feel that if I left, I'd be ostracized.
Okay, Sam, that was it. I have like 5 or 6 points. I'll let you start first.
No, go ahead. No.
I mean, you wanted me to pause.
Oh, I wanted to pause when it said the differentiation between what was it? Harmful advertisement and like positive advertisement. What
empathetic
is
and passion and empathy.
Passion and empathetic advertisement. What the fuck is it? I don't know. Is it the one that Pepsi? The lady gave the Pepsi to the cops. I think that's
maybe
the
that's
empathetic type. But it's it was that I mean I know we agreed to let the videos play, but sometimes I really I just wish I was there to make a snide remark or something. I wish it was had a more friends, but anyway, go ahead.
But okay, sorry, let me start up a bit. I mean, the first thing, I wish I lived in this amazing world that these people live in, because they've just found out that private companies are looking to make profit. I mean, that's the first thing. She's like, found out that Facebook does this to drive up its profit over people's well-being. I mean, this has been a central critique of capitalism for centuries,
of human
pretty much,
activity for a while.
But I'm glad we're learning things one step at a time. Maybe apply it.
You have no idea. Did you know Exxon? Their main motivation is to make money. Jesus, what a revelation! Yeah,
that's a good start. Good realization. And then
I'm not that well. Yeah, I mean, she's so media and PR trained that it's just, I think it's clearly a show.
And the people she's talking, and then so her first point is that, and she twisting things, right? I mean, she's saying that Facebook subsidizes hate, but okay, if you're being completely misleading, as the more popular advertising.
What is hate?
Yeah, I mean. Good question. I mean, she means that
bullshit. So exactly. No, the whole the whole basis of what they're talking about is bullshit. What is hate? What is love? What are you talking about? Like hateful, they just show you what you like to see repeatedly, or what is divisive, because that's what newspapers do. And we'll get to that. But go ahead. Sorry,
No.
I kind of cut you off in the middle of a point you were making about the hate, subsidizing hate.
So she's like, well, no, of course, if an ad is more popular, it becomes cheaper. And so her point is that, whatever, let's forget about the hate thing for a second, ads that are more hateful, so they gather more engagement. And then she's like, as opposed to passionate and ads that about empathy and empathetic and stuff. I mean, in what world do those things work? They have never worked. That is the issue. They are not popular. Of course, video, what does passionate mean? Oh, let's all be together. Nobody's gonna watch that. People aren't into that. That's the issue.
I would say no. Look, the thing is, cheesiness is the biggest market. At least it used to be. I don't know about now. But soap operas are big. Still to this day, like Big Bang Theory was the biggest comedy. Not It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So I would say there's a market for it, but I just don't think what she's describing is true at all.
I mean, I can take that point, but I mean, So, yes, you're right. Some things about compassion,
but
people are like, let's all go for Bernie. And then a lot of people will like this because they like it. But usually divisiveness stuff, I mean, divisive, I can't believe using their words, or things like that are more captivating. That's always kind of been the case.
Yeah, like watching a car crash type of thing.
Yeah.
But I would, and I think the media, the market right now with the whole sort of with fracture of the economy and the structures and all that, we are more niche now in our consumption. But I'm not talking about passionate like advertising. I'm just saying that pandering to this bullshit middle ground, it is still is the, you can still make like advertise and make a lot of money. Like there is a consumer base there that would swallow up, like family friendly advertisements that, there's an oil that the grandmother uses to make linguine or whatever, you know what I mean? So there is a base for it. So yeah, but you're right though. Online especially, it's not, I don't think. I mean, it's still cat videos are super popular.
I mean, they were popular once, but yeah. And I mean, of course, cute stuff are popular too. But I mean, here we're talking about politics and stuff. So I think like, she's more talking about political stuff in that sense.
No, I mean, okay, when you talk about Israel or Palestine, the whole thing is going to be contentious. It's like a very contentious issue. It's not going to be like, okay, you can't, like the issue, that's the thing. They take, like, as if Facebook is making, like, Facebook didn't make Trump divisive. Trump was divisive,
Right? I mean, when Trump...
Reality of life.
100%. I mean, Trump said some of his most messed up things, like, in person, right? I mean, he started off his campaign with the whole Mexico thing. He didn't tweet that out. He said that in front of a camera, in front of people.
To mention CNN, MSNBC. Yeah, they covered them. Like it wasn't Facebook and Twitter. Anyways, but yeah, it's sorry, you had some more points, I think.
No, there's a lot more here to talk about, like generally. But the other thing that caught my attention really, and this is what I've been telling you, I have like this layman's take. It has to do with the whole children and young people part. So I wanted to just talk about a little bit, because only this video, I think, is really about children. And, she talks about the adolescents getting hooked up and all this. So, I mean, I think it's very disingenuous to bring in children and how it's impacting children in the overall conversation about Facebook, because I find that to be a separate issue, right? I mean, we're talking about regulation in the politics and all this, and then you bring the children in and you mix it all together. I think it's better if we separate the kind of things that have to do with children, perhaps, with the things that impact everybody else and not necessarily children. And it just kind of hit me. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of, maybe not the ones that she's saying or as crazy that she's saying. I'm sure there are a lot of downsides to children perhaps being on different social media apps and all this. And then it kind of made me think, why was there never a discussion? Tell me about this. Why is there never a discussion, like, for instance, maybe people under the age of, I don't know, 16 or something shouldn't be allowed to have smartphones, or maybe they should, when you're a kid, not everybody is allowed. You're not allowed to drive, but you're not allowed to drive a car when you're a kid, right? There's some things that adults are allowed to do.
That's very different. I'm sorry.
But why was
as somebody who, by the way,
but why was this discussion never had about?
Why shouldn't children read books before they're 16?
Okay, I didn't say children shouldn't read books, but a smartphone allows you to do a lot more than reading books. You can do anything with a smartphone.
Play games and communicate.
Yeah.
Shouldn't children?
So games too. There are conversations. Yeah. No, maybe they shouldn't be in.
Are they a conversation?
Yeah, I mean,
because I think kids. It's moral. I think first of all, the idea that this conversation haven't been had is ridiculous. This conversation has been had like thousands of times.
Not in this way, though.
Games. What, social media specifically?
Yeah, I mean, they say that they use it too much and all this. No, like smartphones, there hasn't been. And I was thinking about smartphones. Actually, yeah, China does, but like in the Western
China recently
world.
Actually, but in the Western world, this discussion has been going on since it's seeped through culture as well. You look at every TV show, especially from 2005 to 2015, like, oh, you young kids are all into your phones and all, oh, you're so. And I think, to be honest, I'm completely against any kind of limitation on children's use. I mean, by children, like anyone above like 5, I think should be able to access smartphones and communicate and read on them and play games on them.
But why wouldn't, for instance, why would the exact same device that is made for an adult, why wouldn't there, like, I mean, I don't want to like commodify more like things for kids, but perhaps there should be like, you know, there are toys for kids and there are toys for adults, right? They don't often use the same ones. So maybe perhaps a kid between under the age of 9 or 10 or whatever shouldn't be able to have access to a smartphone, which gives you access to do a bunch of other things. Maybe kids' smartphones should be more limited, or maybe, you know, they should be able to make calls, read on it, 1 or 2 things. Other things exist in this way and have always existed. Something that's made for adults was just exactly the same one was rolled out.
Well,
kids.
I don't.
And I know that it's like, no, sorry, let me just finish. I mean, I know that, you know, it's like all like moral pandering and all this. Video games, I mean, of course, even video games, you know, they don't turn kids into X and Y, but you don't want your kid playing, for instance, all day or something like that, right? So you do make these things. It's not completely bullshit what they're saying.
I think it's completely bullshit what they're saying, but I don't understand. First of all, I'm not saying children under the age of 16 shouldn't have parental guidance or parental control. Like, of course, each parent should use their own discretion in terms of, like, for example, my nephew is very young. He has a smartphone, and, you know, he gets YouTube Kids, and, you know, he's not allowed he doesn't know how to anyway to. And by the way, I don't think like they should. For example, there has been a couple of cases where children use this like automatic saving for type things to use their parents' credit card. Of course, those type of things should be. But I don't see any reason for why children should not be able to. I don't see any difference between a smartphone and a book combined with a telephone. So I don't see any reason why children.
Smartphone does much more than simply allow you to read and call someone.
What else does it do?
I mean, for instance, like kids, right? Kids, like when you're a kid, you weren't allowed to like watch every single thing on TV, right? I mean, so there were like some channels that are left aside. And with a smartphone, you can kind of do whatever you want. So now I'm thinking, I don't even see why this was never thought of. Maybe kids shouldn't be able to have iPhones. And I think about it, things that are created for adults and kids have been given.
Yeah.
And I also like the fact that you brought up parents. That's my other thing.
No, wait.
These people, sorry, I'll just say this. These people who are saying, oh, Instagram does this and that, I want to be like, but where are the parents? You know, why is there not a discussion? You know, parents shouldn't allow kids maybe to use, and they do that, but it's completely left out this discussion when she's talking here.
I would say, first of all, most of the studies and shit and things they talk about is bullshit. Like I haven't seen any proper study that proves any causality between media, any form of media consumption, from books to, the only religious books at children in religious schools. That's a whole different thing. But anyway, so that's all bullshit. Secondly, you just said the family thing. Let me respond. I mean, what do you mean? Let me get back to that, because I don't understand your point there at all. But I think you're mixing content with the medium. Like, we have a medium of television, medium of theater. I'm not suggesting children should go watch pornographic theater, for example, right? With a mobile phone, with a browser, you can access pornography, or you can access Wikipedia and read. And it's not that difficult for a parent to put a pornography lock, or to put of course there are ways around it. And every generation, it seems to be getting younger about these matters and all that. But, and not to mention the fact that, by the way, this is a slippery slope they use to censor information. Let's put that aside. It always starts with protecting the children, the little shits that are going to grow up to become worse than us. we have to protect them for some. But anyway, so I don't be like I've been I'm nobody, but for a long time I've hated the whole film rating system. I would actually be for arguing for, like you said, like when you were a kid, you wouldn't watch like a lot of things, like pretty much besides like really horror, gross, horror type, body horror type things. Although I did watch Cronenberg, but like Saw shit or pornography, and I still don't, I personally don't see any problem with it. And the last point you make, I don't understand at all. Like what parents should be, what I don't get it.
No, I'm just saying, like in their conversation is like they leave out like the parents' responsibility. Like, if kids are like, oh, we can't stop using our like cell phone and stuff. Well, kids can't stop eating chocolate either. That's where like the parents come and they tell them what to do. It's just like that. That's simple. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, I would say, you could maybe make a general argument that parenting these days allows maybe too much,
or maybe they don't. I'm just saying
children.
In this conversation, she should take that into consideration. A lot of people don't, and a lot of people perhaps go overboard, and all of this. That is true too.
Yeah, no,
but I mean, I just find that the smartphone,
fair argument.
I just find that the smartphone or like these social media platforms and stuff, there are things built for adults in mind, and then children. Smartphone was never created, then they found out, boom, you can start selling them to kids too. But it was something that was created for an adult. And I even think about it, I'm like, why is there not a thing on a smartphone how old a kid should be allowed to be exposed to it and all this? I mean, people do it.
Why should there be?
Because with smartphone, you can do so much to it. It goes much more than that. So maybe at certain ages, kids shouldn't be able to access different things. Like go on any platform that they want and just like look around.
What's wrong with that?
What is there?
What's
wrong with a kid and watching any kind of channel? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of content. Yeah. When you have a phone, the kid can do whatever that they want.
Platform?
Maybe go on Instagram and just look at whatever they want.
Okay, that's what's wrong with that. But besides,
some things are not good for them to see.
What are those things?
All kinds of things. Maybe some types of people who are in some ways working out in some things, or in some ways, or it could be like anything, that's not good for them to see. Or like, I don't want to give the easy example of pornography, but
pornography is, but that's the thing, on any platform like Instagram and YouTube and stuff, they ban that type of thing.
Well, there's similar versions to it. I mean, pretty much they ban, but I mean, you can go like quite close to it.
I think it's complete. I'm sorry, but there is no ground. Like, give me a real, like they can go on a browser and go to a like pornographic website. That's the biggest fear.
Or like spend their whole time on Instagram or whatever, or like this app or that app or anything, or I don't know, whatever you can do with a smartphone.
So there are some people,
and also not even kids, maybe even 13, 14, 15.
Some kids spend their whole teenage years in library books. So we should go like ban. Like, by the way, Chinese government does that type of shit. Nowadays they're like limiting study hours. So should we do that? Should we just
no? Because I mean, if someone says
too many pictures, like you're taking too many pictures, man, chill out. You have to you banned from.
A kid maybe. Because I'm saying this device was made for adults, and it was never thought to. Okay, now we're just passing on this device to kids, and there seems to be never a thought that is it okay for kids to have a smartphone forever? Maybe there's nothing wrong. You can say no, there's absolutely nothing at all. So there's no reason, and all kids at any age should have a smartphone.
Yeah, and I would you seem to differentiate between adults and kids in quite a stark way. I don't see that differentiation. Increasingly, adults, including myself, are acting and dressing like kids. But besides that, I mean, if you want to say a parent should use their own discretion if you want to talk about parental styles, I'm with you. But when you talk about governmental intervention, no, what the fuck? No, there shouldn't be any control at governmental or federal or whatever level. I don't think. But yeah, if I have had a child and he was 24/7 on Instagram, of course I would be upset. But that's my fucking business. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we do regulate what products like a child can buy or they can't buy by themselves and all this. And I'm just saying smartphone could be one of them that maybe a thought should have been put into it.
Oh, well, that's the thing. I don't think media or thought is one thing that should not be regulated. Like,
no, I
yeah,
said
you
some
should
thought
regulate
put into
children.
the idea of like, okay, smartphones, we
No.
invented them for adults and they, for adults, but of course kids love them too. Just like a thought into this, like, is a smartphone created appropriate generally for children? Yes or no?
Unless if it's a gun or a knife, I think when you do, I wasn't referencing to that. I think when you don't allow children to access smartphones, you're basically right. These days, you're pretty much telling them, yeah, you're basically creating this whole, it's like Vatican with its secret libraries. Like, you don't have access.
No, but I mean,
So,
kids
yeah.
could have access to a kid's version of it or something, and maybe like at a very young age. I mean, that's how it is. Like they make like kids baby like Game Boy or things like that, right? Where they just have like 1 or 2 games in there that they have to play. But I mean, I did say that it's like a very layman kind of thing, but it just hit me that smartphones are this, very powerful thing that were created for adults, and they were just never thought of like, why did they go like the same version, exactly the same, just goes to kids? It might be completely fine, but yeah.
I don't even agree with you that they're very powerful like devices, or like it's just like a portable book. That's what it is, really.
Much more than portable
library
book.
Plus phone and camera. That's all it is.
Plus a lot more. Plus like apps and content and all of that come on it.
What is content? Video.
Yeah,
writing,
anything. Content is content.
Audio.
Yeah.
So portable library, right? Anyway,
but I mean, the library has a specific kind of thing, and it's not really like, that's not a thing to have a portable library. And yeah, if it's a library about anything, you wouldn't want kids to have it, right? If it's like again, going to the easy example of pornography, if it's a pornography library, you wouldn't want kids to walking around.
I don't
with
even
that.
mind that too much, because I think when at certain age you have to stumble upon pornography.
No, I agree with that too.
In
I
a
agree
bush
with that too.
or online.
Yeah.
And then it's just you figure it out. So yeah. And even if it is, anyways, but it's not just that big a deal. But I was very surprised by your take. I must say, I did not see that coming at all.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, it just kind of hit me the other day. But okay, let me say something else that you said though, that I agree with, and which was my original point, that they're mixing this whole like how social media is impacting children to how it's impacting adults, right? Even if we were to believe what you're saying, I think it's not genuine the way that they're like, talk about regulation, start with like Russia and then go to children. And you point out right that they start with the children and then they go towards censorship. So that's kind of their tactic.
It's kind of, it's the reverse Alex Jones maneuver. Like, that, it's kind of, you protecting children at the same point, you highlight the most disgusting person within a medium and all that. Like, it's again like when they wanted to vilify books, they would do the same.
Yeah. So it's just very disingenuous. I mean, even if you take kids, even if they become like addicted like crazy to Instagram and they go nuts, let's just accept that. That still does not affect. That still shouldn't affect like the discussion that you have about Facebook in general for other people. It's like saying, kids, if they drink alcohol too much, they might die. So adults shouldn't also drink it. I mean, just mixing the children in there. Children conversations are often different.
I do accept your general point, generally, like in general, but your examples are awful, because if addiction for people who have heroin addiction is a real fucking thing, all right, and this idea that we feel left out and ostracized if we don't go online, that's not addiction, Okay,
No.
alcoholism, the one you mentioned, like drinking alcohol before
Yeah.
the age of even, I think, up to like 25, can have severe negative effect on the growth of your brain. That's different than like something that, oh, it's possible that it creates a loop of reward. We don't know if the loop already exists or if, fuck you. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, no,
it's
I
just,
agree
it's a very
that
bad.
I agree that what they're saying and stuff is bullshit. But I mean, yeah, just the mixing of them together. I
Mixing
find
the
that
children for you, you should never don't bring the children. This is between me and you.
But yeah, okay, I think that'll be the end of children conversations because the other
I
ones
didn't
don't
think
talk
it's
about
gonna get
children.
this serious.
Huh?
I thought it's gonna be. I thought it's gonna be more of just making fun of her. But yeah,
Okay, we'll get like that too. All right, let's move on to the next video. So
that's
the next
funnier. Yeah,
the next video is some, I think we'll see her name or whatever it is, some kind of EU high level, very high level, I think, EU commissioner kind of person. So Sam, this is 4 minutes long, but where does she say the funniest stuff? She says some really funny stuff at the end too.
in the middle, from middle onwards, it gets super funny. Like when she starts answering questions.
Okay, let's watch a
funny.
bit.
So, well, I don't know.
But
And
if you
whenever
make your
you feel
sign or something,
appropriate, if I do that, maybe just fast forward.
sounds good. Let's go.
You're currently investigating whether Facebook's access to so much of our personal data gives it an unfair competitive advantage. And this week, as I say, we've been hearing from from the Facebook whistleblower who accuses Mark Zuckerberg of having unilateral control over 3 billion people. So I suppose we'll start with a simple question. Is Facebook too powerful?
Not for our democracy. If we stand together,
Jesus.
then we can make real changes. And just to make Facebook assess the risk that they could pose to young people's mental health and to have, external people looking into that assessment to see if things are being corrected, that would be an important step forward.
Okay. We don't have that. And I know that you and the EU have been pursuing Facebook and others for some time.
Pursuing.
What do you
Like
need
Bonnie
to
and
do
Clyde.
now to rein it in?
Well, we have had, competition cases, but that is not enough. We also need to regulate much tighter if we are dealing with someone who can have an immense influence both on mental health, but also how our democracy develops. And this is why now the European Parliament and the European Council, they are considering 2 pieces of legislation that we, the Commission, had put in front of them in order to sort of to make the traffic rules of the internet to preserve freedom of expression, but to get rid of all the things that are illegal offline, because they should not be illegal online. They should not be legal online either.
I mean, sorry, I had to pause there. I mean, again, now she's mixing other things in there, right? Like things that are not legal offline, most of them are not legal online, that sort of thing. And the problems with Facebook and as far as I know, the content that people watch, I mean, they're all fully legal. There's nothing that's like illegal. You might not like them. They might be trash.
Maybe, to be fair to her, I haven't read the bills they propose. Maybe she's referring to something to do with the dark web they were trying to regulate or something.
Which again, what does that have to do with Facebook?
Yeah, well, it has nothing to do with Facebook. And it's like, what I mean about the idea that Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, they already have all these, like, they already don't allow most of the controversial comments and all that. So, but yeah, it's just, this is the funniest thing. The EU official claiming that they have enough power to stand up to corporations, first of all, is funny. Is just ludicrous. Then the mental health. And then the guy is like, "Oh, we don't have that. Oh my God, we don't have independent studies. Shit." Anyways, let's see what.
And
this tragedy. Let's see.
And I hate when they're not genuine or realistic. Like you said that Facebook and Instagram and stuff, they already do have that. They try to regulate, right? To an extent. So let's say if they're doing it in the best faith way possible, right? someone like her, or maybe they should accept that there's no such thing as completely fixing an issue. So you can solve it as much as you want, but an issue never gets fully solved, right? Like crimes don't disappear. You can decrease levels of crime, but they don't just disappear. You know, that's why things like eradicate poverty or like, you know, the war on this and the war on that, they're all completely bullshit.
I mean, look, and just think about the way Facebook or Twitter and stuff works. It's not even when they are, and I do think they are trying to like control, not controversial in a sense that, by the way, generates profit for them. They, for example, they didn't censor Trump when, you know, as soon as he pretty much, you know, as soon as he wasn't profitable for them, they started censoring him. So it's not to deny that, but the way they work is that they're not publishing. It was largely because they didn't want to pay taxes, right? There is that law in the US, I forget. So you publish, or I publish, and then they check. You know, it's not like, just have some fucking, like, you know, think about, like, even if they want to, sometimes, even if they wanted to act in as a good faith actor, which they don't want to because they want to make money, they like, it's still you would have problems because of the way the structure of online publishing, online posting, whatever works. So yeah, it's just childish. I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, some things are not even really possible to do it fully in like the way that people want. But yeah, keep on watching.
Is Facebook so big that it should be broken up? Is it time now to do that?
Well, that would take us probably to court for years with no end. What is important is that we can take action now so that things changes, that smaller businesses can get full access to the market, and that the things that are damaging in social media, that the companies take their responsibility. Because with the kind of power that Facebook holds, of course, also comes responsibility to deal with things that poses a risk to people.
So what, you mentioned that there's two pieces of legislation that you've put in front of the European Parliament. Briefly, what are the two aims then?
Well, for the first, which is called the Digital Services Act, is to make sure that when digital services are provided, like social media services, like the Facebook services, that's on the one hand side, there's freedom of expression. On the other hand side, that illegal content is taken down, but also when products are being sold online, that you know that they are safe as if you go into a toy store on Main Street. And the second piece of legislation, the Digital Markets Act, will open the gates that big companies are keeping right now, making it more difficult for mid and small-sized businesses actually to get to their potential customers. In an open economy, of course, you need to get to the customers without someone keeping the gate for you.
You've made your name pursuing these big tech companies, but last year Apple appealed against 30.
I love how, like,
who knows her name? Who knows? Yeah, like, do you know, you made your name hunting down big corporations. Yes. Yeah, they know me as Amazon killer in certain circles. What are you talking about? You made your name. Like, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No. I was just gonna say, you see, they talk about everything and anything. It started, like, I thought it was a conversation about content on Facebook. Now, then it becomes about like monopolies and like anti-competition things. It just everything.
I think they gave away what EU is getting at, though. First of all, I just wanted to dispute companies, unlike what she says, and that's the biggest neoliberal trick. Companies do not have any responsibility to anyone but their owners and shareholders. They don't have any responsibility to society. And
whether you think that's good or bad, whether you like that or not,
I don't.
You're just describing reality.
Yeah, it's like saying a virus has a responsibility to be nicer. This level of killing by this virus, it's very rude. It's not fair. Companies are set up to exploit people and society for profit of a certain organization which belongs to certain people. So they don't have any responsibility. These officials, what they wanna do is that, it's kind of, we don't want to have NHS like a Facebook that is run by government or owned by governments, because then that would put the responsibility on us actually to regulate and to, for example, have an algorithm that, let's say, if it's about Britney Spears, would put it same level as a first-time singer. So let's even put politics out of it. Let's focusing culturally. They don't want to do that. They don't want to take any responsibility. As you said, as soon as he suggested maybe we should break them up, he didn't suggest nationalization. That would have really freaked her out. No, that's a structural change. No. We should focus on immediate solutions to our structural change, breaking it up, making it like having a public option version. No. That's bad. So, and she gave game away when she described it. The bills are focused on IP production. That's what this is all about. It's about European, government, especially EU, is basically a protection racket, right? So I think this is the same thing with the US Congress and Amazon recently, that they've started with this whole thing that Amazon is copying the design of the independent sellers, which is, of course, that was the whole point. Anyway, but and now it's just like EU officials and US officials sort of, I think, going with a baseball bat, going, give us our share type of thing. Yeah. And I think, they'll pay them off and they'll come to some conclusion. But this is about IP production. It's the protection racket. It has nothing to do with children or mental health or,
anything that she talked about that was concrete. From what I recall right now, had to do with exactly like anti-competition laws and like monopoly or like IP and like access to market. Nothing to do really with the Facebook whistleblower, based on what I've heard that she's been talking about. She was talking about something else. And here, right, Facebook whistleblowers to meet EU officials, but she's talking about different kind of issues that have to do, with IP and market access and all that.
The whistleblower, just the level. The line the guy mentioned in the very beginning of the video, that she said that Mark Zuckerberg basically has a unilateral control over 3.5 billion people. Besides the fact that out of the 3.5 million people who have Facebook accounts, I think about 2 billion of them check it once a year, maybe. There is it's like pretty much boomer land. But anyway, besides that fact, it's just, it's just clearly such a PR, like they came up with it in a think tank, and it's complete bullshit. And and as you said, those issues have nothing to do with the issues, the bills they suggested where it was addressing, which is it's just they're a protection racket. That's what they are. They're a very, very nice version of mafia.
No, 100%. And this just made me kind of, and it doesn't mean that everything that goes on the internet is good and doesn't need regulation. It's just these bullshit, bad faith attempts that they have really. I remember early on in the Facebook days, like one of the main criticisms was that they were taking the data that they gathered from people, right, and selling it. That seemed like a much more genuine conversation than me. Okay, maybe there shouldn't be permissions of selling to third party without X or Y. Back then it was much more sane, the conversation around this issue.
That's been part of the criticisms, but not in the recent round and not by the mainstream really. But even that one, I would say, by the way, both leftists and like these liberals in this case, and a lot of leftists, we get to it with our other videos, but just this idea that they're human agency, like, I'm sorry, but you sign up to the agree thingy nobody reads. You sign up to that, so.
Yeah, and that has its problems too. You can just like now that they wanted to. You told me that you get this too. So in Europe they wanted. I don't even know what that's for, but if you go on any news page or anything, there's like this huge big thing that you have to click on and make it go away now. Like, you know, you told me that whenever you
Cookie,
go,
accept
yeah,
cookies.
that accept
Yeah,
kind of. I mean,
and you
that
have to
was
like what's yeah.
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 I mean, what was that for even? Like, what what issue did they try to
So
solve with
it's
that?
because sort of the data thing, that the
Yeah, oh,
data thing you
true.
mentioned. Now you know that there are cookies that
Yeah.
track your activities and potentially can access your other data on
So
your
I mean,
computer,
that's bullshit.
as if like
Yeah. So I mean, just
exactly, like,
people
who
reading
cares?
the fine print. Okay, I don't agree that because, you know, people can't read all the fine prints. I mean, if you're going to read all the fine prints for everything that you buy and you accept, you'd be stuck in one day. Like your life would
No, I
never
know,
move
but
forward.
the solution is not to hold the company responsible or stuff. Is to have or either nationalize the thing and then have a set of laws that are like, you know, apply to it, just like like, you know what I mean? Like you have national newspapers and independent newspapers, and have a public option version of it. The sorry, what
Yeah,
were
no,
you
that's it.
saying
And
about
no,
the?
and I didn't say anything else. And you know, if these people, like, it's, I mean, they didn't do this, but when everybody told them don't allow Facebook to buy Instagram and WhatsApp, that would have done a lot more if your concern is Mark Zuckerberg. Because Mark Zuckerberg, I wouldn't be surprised with the whole like branding shift that he does with Facebook and all this. You know, Facebook might not even,
Meta.
yeah, might even become obsolete with that, and nobody might care anymore. But they gave him WhatsApp, they gave him Instagram and all this, where there perhaps they should have thought about all this and not allow one company to buy two other huge companies like that.
That's more to do with the whole monopoly thing. But then again, that's been going on for the last 40 years in all sectors,
100%.
like media.
Yeah, no, I'm just not. Yeah,
Before
exactly.
Clinton. So yeah, that's like nothing to do with online and stuff.
No, but I mean, their
So,
control over Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. I mean, they turn it into like
it's just
children thing.
it's not even.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing. I mean, it's just such a distraction from real issues, because like Facebook has no real power. There is no. They can't.
I wouldn't
it's
say
as
no. I
powerful.
wouldn't go that far, but
Oh,
yeah.
as in, by the way, Facebook, the app, I don't mean Facebook, like it has no power on the consumer. More than War and Peace has on the reader, I think, or like
anything that you read, yeah, or watch or consume.
Yeah, it's read the whole. But yeah, she's she's very smart. But at the end, I think they gave it away with the whole IP stuff.
Let me just hear the last thing that she says to hold on.
Court, of course, that decision. We do our best to make sure that our cases, they will stand up in court. We are obliged, since the union is built on the rule of law, that goes without any question. But of course, the court can disagree with you. That is the risk that I know that is there. But of course, we need to try to pull through if we think we have a good and a strong case, then to dare to take a decision.
No, I think we already saw it. It was just the part where she says that, you know, selling a fake bag should be illegal online too. 100% agree with you there. But okay, Sam, now we reached a slightly different story. So I'm just going to pass it to you, actually, for you to give the context. All I'm going to say is that this is about Novara Media Outlet, which is a YouTube, and they also have a website-based outlet. They're relatively left-leaning, you can say. They're from the UK, and last week they woke up one day and their YouTube channel was completely deleted. Since then, they managed to restore it quite quickly. I mean, they're bigger than their subscribers suggest, I would think, in terms of influence. I mean, this main person, Ash, she's always on mainstream channels in the UK. But yeah, so having said that, what else do you want to add about this story, Sam? Before we watch the video.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say they're that often on mainstream media. Like
Ash
Jones,
seems to be.
You could say the guy. Yeah, but like Owen Jones, the guy who's like interviewing them, is much more high profile.
Really?
But yeah.
Oh yeah, but I mean, Ash.
Guardian,
I mean, I've seen him on like big things on TV. That's why I said that.
Ash more so, I would say, YouTube, sort of, after the whole Piers Morgan. But anyway, we covered a lot of things, and they recently had that interview with the Italian sociologist that was fantastic, and they do great stuff. But I've had my like huge disagreements with them personally, and this one to me was really interesting. So I think let's watch it, and I can't add anything else to what you said besides the fact, yeah, they had their channels deleted. But yeah, just yeah, maybe you want to play it, and then this was very interesting. So I just save my commentary for after.
Okay, this is a short one. Let's go.
Can I interrupt just very quickly on anonymity? I just really want to talk about this very quickly about online anonymity. So I do think that there are some problems posed by online anonymity when it comes to abuse, but it's actually very small when you look at the number of people who are posting racist, misogynist, threatening or harassing tweets under their own names, right, and under identifiable accounts. So when you look at what happened after the Euros final, which by the way still bothers me, you had 93% of the abusive tweets being sent from, named accounts. So you've got that 7% problem, and it is a problem. And in my own experience, what I find is that you have particularly, dedicated full-time racists who are just cycling through these pseudonymous accounts, waiting for one to get suspended so they can leap onto another. But that's actually a very small portion. And when you look at those accounts, they usually have ways of identifying themselves, mostly for other racists and other trolls and other, the hateful bigots, where, they will have as their handle something like, and I'm actually quoting a real one, something like Rape Champ 1488, right? Now, are you telling me that you need to ban anonymity in order for YouTube to be able to take action on an account which has got a, Nazi code slogan of 1488 and it's called Rape Champ? No, I don't think you do need to ban anonymity to be able to do that. There is enough within YouTube's power to be able to take action on those, really dedicated anonymous accounts without having to blanket the principle of anonymity. And this is, I think, something which is really important, which is you can acknowledge the specific problems of anonymity. And then what you can do is ask yourself the question of what is proportionate to solve the problem? Because what's proportionate is actually what's already in the hands of a platform like YouTube or a platform like Twitter.
Right, Sam. So my point is more about that figure, that stat that you showed, and the whole anonymity thing, and specifically about the UK. But I think you have like a larger point that you would like to make.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, me, I mean, all I wanted to say is I brought this up, I think actually last week or something. And I was saying in the UK, because I was talking about how people from all walks of life are looking for more regulation on social media and Facebook and all of this. And in these football channels in the UK one, they were talking about, there should be, perhaps you should have to, have an ID and identify yourself in order to go on social media or Facebook, with the idea being that will, and then people won't say racist stuff because it's all being done under anonymity and all this. And as this stat that she got clearly shows that if you had to use your ID to make an account, it would make no difference. And people have their faces, they're standing there with their wife and dog or whatever, and they say whatever the hell that they want. So my point was just about the anonymity thing, and having IDs and stuff wouldn't address that if you think, if that is an issue that you want to address.
Sure, and you have people like I was going to say Brianna Greyjoy, but I meant to say Joyanne Reid, who have said racist and sexist stuff, and then say that it's a joke, like time traveling hackers have basically hacked my Twitter, and like it's not me anyway. So yeah, it doesn't release, because unless you have a videotape of somebody sort of typing and then clicking post, it's still like just in a court of law anyway. So yeah, I agree with you there, but I would say the hypocrisy of them, Ash Sarkar and Owen Jones and Michael, I forget his family name, but they are very hypocritical in my view, especially with them after this making more videos and being very upset about the fact that YouTube deleted their channel, because they constantly push for language policing. And even in this video, she's you're right, she's saying this tactic would not help to censor YouTube or whatever properly. We should use a better tactic to censor. And by the way, I mean, yes, YouTube, all these channels are filled with racist, sexist, rude comments and all that, right? But I'm sorry, but that's just, again, like that's the price of freedom of speech. If there is a direct threat or a call to action, that should be dealt with police. If a newspaper, for example, releases a personal information of somebody, police will certainly act on it, I think, as a sort of like attack this guy for some reason. So I don't understand why we need to like an extra step for social media and all that, and the hypocrisy of them. And I just wanted to give a specific example. They just published a video about Richard Madeley. I think he's a shitty, he's like a Alan Partridge figure from like morning television. He's like the Joe Scarborough of UK, like really cheesy, and he was married to his co-host for many years. He's a douche, old, like, very douchey guy, and that. And he asked somebody, like, asked Keir Starmer, "Oh, is Angel Rayner still your best girl?" And it is a very cringy thing to say. In my view, I wouldn't say it, and it betrays his sort of background as an old guy, probably raised, in 80s, probably wasn't and Novara Media made like a 20-minute video about this, as if this is like such a big issue. And they never tell Boris Johnson, is Michael Gove your good boy? Well, if they do that, you probably criticize him. Oh, what do you mean by boy? It's just they are themselves one of the biggest, like, they do this constantly. So, and they constantly talk about the hateful language on media. So, I don't know. It's just, I do feel like it's interesting that it's bad until, it's okay until it happens to you, sort of. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what her response would be to that, right? Do you think she would say, "Oh, but I'm talking about this kind of special thing"? Like, what would her response be to this, to what you just said?
I think I'm trying to be fair, so I would say they probably say that you're equating marginalized minority groups with anyone within a society, but marginalized minority groups should be a bit more protected, maybe, or boosted up, maybe, because they are in such a dire position. I don't know. I'm putting myself in their position. I'm trying to think like they would do, but would be their thing.
I mean, I think they would say, no, I mean, I'm guessing they would maybe say more like, no, but we don't put out like racist stuff or hateful content. That's kind of like,
hateful is a very subjective thing.
That's the
it's
thing,
even
though.
More than racist.
Yeah, no.
Alex
I agree
Jones
with you there.
claims not to be a racist, but nobody says they're like whole Fox News organization claims not to be racist. But come on, like, I'm sorry, but you can't, if you're gonna go based on the subjective view of me or them. By the way, I agree with like 90% of their policies and their thinking, but you can't. Like, again, how do you, like, homophobic? It's, you can be very homophobic, but be very subtle about it. And not say the exact bad word.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, that's the kind of area that you can't, there's like, and if you try, I mean, it's like, there's no ability to even regulate those kind of things, whether it's like a human or AI. Nobody has even the capability of doing that, even if you wanted. I mean, I'm just trying to think like what kind of example she's clearly referring to. So I'm guessing she wants, like, if you write simply something racist, like if you use the N-word or something, I guess, then she wants those to be, deleted or something.
And besides the Richard Madeley thing, I can't find a specific example, but they have always been very much highlighting the bad language against gay people or against women. And again, like, of course, I hate that bad language too. I find it disgusting. But they frame it and then they go on to ask the question, what is Facebook going to do about it? What is government going to do about it? Besides, like, providing better education, so like next generation is a slightly better in terms of, like, in my view, again, it's my subjective view, and I live in a society where a lot of people are actually sexist and racist. And frankly, by the way, I think they're pushing for this sterilization of like culture and society that in many ways is going to backfire and just going to push these things underground, and you're just going to be with a racist guy and not know it, you know. And that's more dangerous. If I'm with a racist guy, so I rather know that, you know, maybe I can avoid that meeting somehow, you know.
No, and you're totally right. And you pointed out something very important here, which we haven't mentioned, I think, right now, which is that a lot of the things that are said on social media is a reflection of what is said out there, right? She gave the example of the Euros, where people said a lot of racist things online, right, to English players after they lost, and they literally said those things in a stadium and more, and did all this, you know. So it's not like they run there to do it. It's just another means of communication, and they continue whatever it is that they say and they hate, you know. They just do the same things, you know. Like, I mean, if I see someone in real life, I talk kind of about the same things that I do on social media, more or less.
I would say I feel like the onus should be on the police, and why they haven't, like, I remember like one of the very early videos we did and stuff was about the fact that TYT apparently like used to publish videos of personal parts of people, like or like I've seen this EU thing you mentioned. I remember seeing like threats against specific football players. The onus should be on the police to follow up on these things.
Yeah.
But you can't threaten someone that you're gonna murder them over the phone, over the newspaper, on social media,
writing,
by having an airplane hired to make a sort of a cloud message. Like, you should not threaten people. Like, I don't understand, where is the police when or you should not be allowed to take pictures of people's private parts and then put. I don't get this. Like, where is the police? That's my question. It's kind of reminds me of the whole Leveson thing in UK. The internet, what was News International, whatever they were called before they got closed. Like, they were spying on people. And then people are like, oh, we need new media regulation. But what about police? They were like hacking into people. Like, what was police doing?
Yeah, maybe they're not trained for it. Maybe they're not trained for it. But why are they not trained for it?
Why they don't have enough budget to combat these things? Why some of them are bought off even in some anyway. So,
and if you're saying that they're not the best one, maybe make a different kind of, I don't know, police, you know, because of the context that we talk about, like, you know, police and defund the police and all this. But no, your point is very well taken. I would give more money for police, to be honest. But I would say, their hypocrisy there really stood out to me. And but again, I want to emphasize this, that like most of their content is fantastic, or like the interviews they do with like sociologists and shit. But their views. I mean, their hypocrisy. I mean, I meet you pretty much halfway to full there
to 60.
Because I can tell that she's differentiating between hateful and that kind of stuff, but it's
very subjective differentiation.
On some things it's clear cut, on some things it's more clear cut, and on some things it's absolutely not clear cut, and even on no. But Sam, I just realized we forgot to, where is it, the Matt Taibbi article. Oh, and we still have one more funny one.
I thought we're gonna leave the article for the end. But
exactly. No, you're right. I forgot.
But I would say Matt Taibbi article, I think with this video, like, I think Matt Taibbi is talking about exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk Matt Taibbi then quickly.
All right. Cheers. That's good for me.
Yeah.
Especially if you go down.
Yeah. So I mean, Matt Taibbi article on his Substack page. I mean, should I summarize the main argument though, or you want me to go to something?
Sure. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I have one part of the article I wanted to highlight.
Same here. I mean, here it says a consortium of Slack chatting would-be journalistic competitors feign outrage at social media platform that does exactly what their companies do, only better. So he's just pointing out that a lot of CEOs and different corporations are also all like, oh, Facebook is doing that, blah, blah, pushing clickbait comment. And he has a beautiful example in there, while they do the same, only better. So I don't know if you wanted to
and
point out the same the same
I just want
BuzzFeed example or something else. Go ahead.
yeah, exactly. I wanted to exactly point that out.
So
But
it's highlighted.
before that,
Yeah.
I just wanna give an example. This is from Owen Jones. Let me see.
Jesus Christ, one hell of an. I've literally heard maybe a minute. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say she's unbearable even to even, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, fair. No, just for example, Starmer declares war on labor. That's title of one of Owen Jones' videos. There was one about the economy. How bad is the Tory economic mess? I mean, by the way, we put some like titles, verses, and all that. So when he says they like Slack chatting people who what they do, like this is like everybody does this. Like you try to put inciting like things and pick just when I mean the hypocrisy, and then the same people are anyway. So
I mean, just
I'm gonna
like
find more examples.
The first clip that we watched, they're like, "Oh, Facebook is all into profits." I mean, since day one, since I started to learn and listen to people, all I've thought is private companies are supposed to think about profit, and in fact, some argue that they legally have to, like a corporation, to pursue profits, and that's what everybody's supposed to do. And now suddenly they're like, "Oh, Facebook is after profits." Like, no shit.
It's just that's the thing. I find the companies in many ways to be the most like the last remaining like honest, and I don't mean that in a like necessarily good thing, but they are at least honest. They don't pretend like charities that go and fuel civil wars all around the world. At least they say, okay, we are here to make money, guys. All we care about is money. Sure, we make some adverts. We pretend we care about like multiculturalism,
but that's because we care about money.
We have to. Yeah, exactly. That's because we have to, and we have some shareholders who are, in some major nations, and we have to pander to them. But like, are you a child? What do you think the shop in front of your house? What do you think that guy is in it for? Do you think he's in it for the community? Jesus Christ!
That was a good example. I like that.
Or teachers. Like I've worked as a teacher in a schools and in institutes and independently. Like this idea that teachers, or I've seen so many doctors, like what they're in it for the community. I'm saving lives. Oh, come on, grow up. Just Yeah,
I mean, you might, enjoy it in that way too. I mean, maybe that's the enjoyment that you get out of it. But your first examples with the store and stuff. I mean, and doctor.
That's a better one.
Matt Taibbi points out like, this is amazing. So apparently,
read that.
Should I read the whole thing?
I think that was, I was gonna read the quote from BuzzFeed, and this is BuzzFeed. That was the part I wanted to highlight.
Okay. So the most amazing example of one of the early journalist pieces, September 15 article. So this is all about blah blah blah. In journalist sites, an email from Jonah Paternity, chief executive at BuzzFeed, to a top official at Facebook, complained that Facebook was making their own dumb clickbait too successful. The most divisive content that publishers produced was going viral on the platform, he said, creating an incentive to produce more. He pointed to the success of a BuzzFeed post titled 21 Things That Almost All White People Are Guilty of Saying, which received 13,000 shares. Other content the company produced, from news videos to articles on self-care and animals, had trouble breaking through. Mr. Paternity blamed the major overhaul Facebook had given to its newsfeed algorithm earlier that year, according to internal Facebook documents reviewed by the Wall Street Equity. This is BuzzFeed, Matt Taibbi, the company that rose to prominence ages ago atop content like 34 Reasons Why Parent Trap Dennis Quaid is the hottest movie DILF ever, and 109 Cats in Sweaters, essentially complaining that Facebook made me do it when it comes to lowbrow click chasing. And the Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Boobs on page through Murdoch News Corporation, co-signed the sentiment. You need a chainsaw to cut through that hypocrisy. I mean, how this person wrote this with serious...
I love the fact that they are like, no, it can be that, we've we haven't made enough videos about, I don't know, self-care or animals to have the build up for our videos to do well. It must be the news algorithm on Facebook to be censoring us, or it can be our content is shit, or anyway, or people are just not attracted, or people, any other explanation, any others.
I mean, when you're tired, like, you know, even if you like to read quality stuff, when you're tired, like, you know, you just like click on bullshit. So I can read one good proper article, right? Maybe, let's say, but I can watch 5 of these bullshit things because, I mean, that's what they're created for. It's easy, you watch it, you know. I want to click on this thing, 25 things that all white people. I'm very curious right now. I would love to click on this article right here, 21 things almost all white people are guilty of saying. That'll be a fun 30-second read.
It will be just the Robin the Angelo sort of book chapters, but no, I would say it's just and like nobody, like, I mean, to be honest, again, Facebook, it's just so weird. This whole conversation centers around Facebook because I really don't know who and for what people use Facebook anymore. Because I know people who use Instagram and for videos and sharing and all that. I know people who, like me, watch YouTube a lot, and I don't know anyone who uses, like, I don't, like, besides like some old family members I have in Canada or something that have a family group that's, you know, they share. Like, who's using this for what? I mean, people watch animal videos on Facebook. I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Facebook is kind of now more for old people, so it doesn't even like support kind of everything that they're saying. And they only brought up Instagram. Only she brought up Instagram in that
because of kids
in the first video for kids, exactly. But whenever the arguments aren't genuine, they like miss the boat by so much, you know. I mean, this is what I was just saying when Trump became president. There was 50 things to approach him about, like literally like a list so long, but they managed to because they can't, because they're absolutely corrupt themselves too, and they're just like him. They managed to concoct something about Ukraine and like Russians together. I'm like, you know, call me. I have 10 things you can go after Trump if you want. I'll give you ideas for free.
I'm sorry, but you remind me of Brianna Joy Gray. She was on the Hill and they were talking about the election of a governor or something in the US going on right now in Virginia. Yeah, I think Virginia. Anyway, but she was saying, I don't understand why they focus on like making it a national thing, by the like an anti-Trump thing, why they don't focus on local issues. Because if they focus on those things, then there will be expectation that something should be done about those things.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, then they are in trouble because they are as corrupt as
exactly
Trump in those
that's
ways.
Why that's why they can't be genuine with anything. That's why they couldn't be genuine in their criticism. No, that's exactly what I'm saying. They couldn't be genuine about their criticism of Trump because they do the exact same thing.
I was just explaining why they don't call you up. Is that they know they literally, no, we don't want to do that.
So no, exactly. I was making 100% making the same point. Okay,
but let's watch the
last video.
Again, I mean, we're not gonna, I think, dwell much on it later, but it's just two hypocrites being idiotic. So it's really, I mean, I'm being harsh. It's very, it's not a good take. Cut
many platforms that we stream on, but we have to keep our eyes on them. There is a report now that has come out called the Facebook Papers, which shows that Facebook was fully aware. In fact, they did their own research into the harm that their system was causing. I want to read directly from the Washington Post. A trove of internal Facebook documents reveals that the social media giant has privately and meticulously tracked real-world harms exacerbated by its platforms, ignored warnings from its employees about the risk of their design decisions, and exposed vulnerable communities around the world to a cocktail of dangerous content. I want us to take a listen to this summary that was provided by The Recount as they put it all together, what's happening with Facebook.
When it rains, it pours for Facebook, but this is a straight-up tsunami. The tech giant may have confronted whistleblowers, congressional inquiries, and PR.
also need to point out that Facebook, 55% of Facebook is owned by Mark Zuckerberg. He is the law. He's the captain of the ship. The buck stops with him. And all of these decisions, in many reports, employees have been disgusted because they bring this to his attention, and yet and still he makes these decisions, oftentimes autonomously. Now, the reason this is important is because if you notice all of the fruits, it's not as though Facebook is benefiting everybody. Facebook is benefiting specifically far right-wing ideologies. It's been documented over and over again. If you want to ask yourself the reason why, well, Facebook often gets to hide behind the veil of technology. But in this case, these are decisions being made by Mark Zuckerberg, who we can clearly see has an ideology, and that ideology is now being spread to billions of people on Facebook.
Well, and is there not a similar thread here of you?
Oh my God, I forgot about the how he personalized it about Mark Zuckerberg, and then he pretty much goes on. Yeah, and then at the end, he pretty much says that Mark Zuckerberg himself is a racist misogynist, so he wants that kind of content to be promoted.
He refers to the couple of things that are obviously alleged and disputed and all that by Zuckerberg and others. I would say these. I mean, the thing is with Novara Media, I think that was a point of disagreement. With these people, I don't know, maybe because of the way the guy talks especially, I feel like they're charlatans. They are complete charlatans. The idea that, as in grifter, as in trying to sell the idea that we represent you, the people and all that. The employees are going up to Zuckerberg, disgusted, like the CFO of Facebook. What did you sign up for when you signed up to the, this company? What you're saving the world? What is this? Anyway, so that, and then it said it's benefiting the right-wing ideology. I'm sure if you, the most published book in the world is Bible. So, okay, the book, guys, the publishing industry, it needs to get under control. It's under the influence of Christian ideology. What the heck, what kind of if you can establish causality between the directors of the company and right-wing content, that's a whole different thing. And then says Zuckerberg has ideology. I mean, as far as capitalism is ideology, of course he has ideology, but what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I mean, at a personal level, I don't think. I'm not even go down that argument.
No,
I don't know.
By the way, just like Amazon, Jeff Bezos is, same, similar type of people we're talking about, right? The most subversive anti-capitalist show right now in the whole of American television is produced by Amazon, The Boys. Succession is produced by another one. So they don't give a shit. They don't care about anything but money, but viewers. That's all it is to them. So this, anyway, and then it makes it even more personal. But this, we have to keep an eye on them. Who are you? What are you talking about? The government? What are you suggesting? Again, just general terms that don't mean anything. Do you mean regulation? Do you mean nationalization? Do you mean breakup? What are you on about, really? Yeah.
Should we watch a little bit more and even perhaps play the end as well? I don't think people believe us that the ideology thing. They have to hear it for themselves. Yeah.
No, this ability to act as though you don't have the power to intervene, to not protect vulnerable populations. If you are overseeing communications that are becoming threatening or seemingly violent, hateful, you don't have a duty to intervene? That's not your job. That's not your responsibility, right? Just turn the other cheek, act like you didn't see it. Nothing's happening here. We in America, we have cultivated this culture that, there's just nothing I can do about it. Oh, that's so unfortunate. And we will sit by it. It deeply disturbed me. The story that came out about the woman being raped on the train. And you had these onlookers, people taking out their cell phone and filming it, and nobody actually doing a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what does that say about the character?
That is, by the way,
thing.
that's the same technique as the children protect the children technique. Another one is always, by the way, in movies, if you've noticed, like there is always a lady sad, like as if women are all these fucking hapless creatures. So she's reverse sort of sexism. But as far as I know, if somebody's committing crimes such as this and you do nothing, like they don't have a gun to force you like to get away, and then you film it and stuff, aren't you accessory to fucking rape or whatever it is? Like, again, police, like there is like, I don't get it. Like, this is like the example she gave, it sounds to me like they were all accessory to a fucking assault. Assault,
no, 100%. And I mean,
yeah, so what is the police there for then? Like, what, Facebook needs to come and says, oh no, we are not going to allow, we're going to check the video of rape first, we're going to have a censor,
which
just
they
like
do
during Tsar times says censor is going to watch the video first, and then what are you talking about? God
and
damn.
they do that. They do try to do a lot of these things anyway. I mean, like, if you post videos of rape and all this, they take it down. So I don't even.
Yeah, well, they want it to a step further. They want to watch it. They want them to have censors. That's what they want. Just like Tsarist regime or, Holy Roman Empire. They want censors that read the books and go, oh, this is safe for other people. It's fucking Vatican secret library.
So watch a little bit more of this bullshit.
Character of our country when we have become a people that will stand by and watch harm happen. And that's what Zuckerberg is doing. He has a window into the communications of every American, and not even just our country. I mean, he has a window into communications across this world. So he sees the foreshadowing of things before it even happens. He knew about Stop the Steal before it escalated into this huge riot on January.
How I don't understand how I mean, according to these guys, Facebook is a one-person company with Mark Zuckerberg literally doing everything while at the same time monitoring communication coming in, and he knew about this in advance. I mean, a lot of people knew about January 6th in advance. I mean, that's why they showed up there.
No. Okay, like okay, in that sense, yes. No, I felt no, but they're suggesting as if he's like in this sort of Minority Report room with these screens and going, all right, the trend is there. January 6th, we're gonna have the coup, and then I'll do that. I mean, come on, he's fucking having fun. He has people doing that for him. He's not crazy. But besides that, we've become a people that stand by and let bad things happen to do nothing. You invaded Iraq and Libya. Just stop like this we people culture. Like, this is all bullshit fairy tale talk. They are just like, that's what I mean about grifting. Like Novara Media stuff. I mean, it's just, like right-wing people when they talk about family values and stuff. It's the same thing reversed. So by the way, I just wanted to, because she said that we stand by and let, it's just this idea that people don't have agency. I'm gonna I was watching recently a video with Gerard Horn, and like he was talking about people voting, and it's like, I'm sorry, but like media and all these things, all these bad things is a reflection of society. And I know you want to close your eyes and put your head under the snow and pretend nothing's going on, but it is a fucking bad word out there, and I'd rather see it than, and people have agency. They can choose not to be on Facebook. You can choose not to be on Facebook. You can block people on Twitter. You don't have to follow Trump and become triggered every time and then want to fucking censor everybody.
Yeah. And then when you say we've become, I mean, that's another thing that we talked about. I hate you. Not even that, the become. No, however you think people are, they've been like this for much longer than when you started thinking about this. A lot of
idea that humans have fundamentally changed because
it was in 96 that people changed. Okay, before 96, the world was good. Then suddenly, like,
no, you could, to be honest, you could even argue like I remember, like in many years ago, not now, I think nobody argues it, but at the time, like they were arguing that telegraph may have had a more impactful effect on word communication than internet in many ways. Like and go read books from like ancient Rome, same bitching, same, like you have the social justice warriors and then you have your right wing. It's the same goddamn thing. Anyway,
let's watch a bit more of this. We've come this far.
January 6th, right?
That's right.
But he has the ability to just shrug his shoulders. He has the privilege to shrug his shoulders and act like it's not his problem. But the reality, Ben, if we're witnessing something and we're not a part of the solution, that means, you guys, we're a part of the problem.
That's right.
Man, our channel gets no views and stuff, but I mean, maybe there's a reason that some like leftist like content, like, you know, this was posted a day ago, has only done 533 views from a channel that has 60,000 subscribers. Maybe there's a reason, because I mean, like, my grandma probably has a better like take and less cringe than this. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, this is what leftism is, which is not. But I mean, I hope not. But I mean, this, how can this be appealing to anyone who's sitting there and watching and the world and my, I mean.
No, but the end, the aphorism, idiom, whatever the hell it is, the famous, if you are not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. That's the basically the whole, you know, besides the fact that it's a fortune cookie type of thing, but it is basically what George Bush said after 9/11. You are either with us or against us type thing. No. Look, I don't want to participate in any shape or form in your goddamn conflicts or whatever. You know, so yeah, it's the same thing, but put in a very nicer way. It's the same thing. You're either with us or against us.
No, so many different points you can make with this stupid video.
Absolutely, Georgia. Yeah, no, I'm just listening and taking everything that you just said in. Because it reminds me that this is on purpose. A lot of times we let these tech bros go out here and pretend as if they have a level of knowledge, or they have ascended to a level that transcends their bigotry, their racism, their misogyny, their patriarchy. We have to remember how Facebook got started. First of all, he stole it. He stole the idea from two twins. I forgot their names, but you know, there's a movie about it. Second of all, it started off as a way of choosing which face was prettier, which woman was the prettiest. And for all intents and purposes, Mark Zuckerberg built this democracy-breaking Facebook platform on the back of his incel, his inability to get a girl. And this is what we're dealing with. But we give it him.
What's up?
But first of all, he hasn't seen the movie he's talking about. He hasn't seen it clearly because, that's true. He created, I think, a smash that or whatever, which you would choose between girls and all that. But calling him incel, by the way, they would, you know, we just had a discussion about hateful speech. There are many right-wingers. You go online, as soon as you mention incel, they get so triggered, and you know. So that's what I mean about like censoring language and hateful.
Exactly.
And all
Should that be? Is that hateful? What he's saying?
Okay, yeah, exactly. Is that hateful to describe the man?
It does sound a bit hate. I mean, I don't care for Mark Zuckerberg, but it does sound a bit hateful, if you ask me.
and irrelevant. 100%. At the end of the line, who cares? What if he was a saint who was not having sex for 10 years? Like Jack Dorsey's kind of like that, isn't he? Doesn't he go on Vispata, Vishtana type bullshit? They don't talk for me. I don't know. But like if...
I wouldn't be surprised.
You know, does that make any difference? Like, you know, it's like... but again, it's just so... Maybe it's a bit cultural poverty of these people, because like I remember very young age, I remember reading about kings, and you would have this king who would really try to be good but just fucks up, just like, okay, I'm trying to, and it just ends up starting war or suppressing people. And then you would have a king who would become a Sufi I just want to write poetry. And it just structurally no difference. Just like there is no difference. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The problem is the structures and all. Anyway, sorry.
Be with you there. Let's see if there's anything else.
We've given him the ability to have this prestige because he's a tech bro and Facebook does these wonderful things and it's so complicated. But in reality, no, we're dealing with a man who got where he did through theft, and also not just the theft of the platform, but of our data and all of our intimate conversations, intricate relationships. He makes his money off of our connectivity. And here we are at the mercy of him because now we've given him the power. And
supermarkets make their money off our biological need to eat and drink. But I mean, he has one point in there that I totally agree with. It has nothing to do with this.
Limbaugh for shit lips. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, this is I hate this is the case. I mean, this is in reality, it's always like this. This was one of this early on. This was one of the things that attracted people to Trump. They're like, oh, this person's a businessman, or this person did good in business, then they must know about everything in life. Oh, this person's a doctor, then they must know about everything in life. So I mean, I hate that general approach that is taken in life. So I'll give him a little
did he
credit.
say?
Huh?
When did he say? I don't understand.
No, because he's talking about Mark Zuckerberg, we're giving him all this power, and because he's successful and all this and all this prestige. Yeah, I mean, we do that with everything, right?
Yeah.
When someone's like a good business person, then they're suddenly like, oh, so you should make a good prime minister or something.
Lewis Hamilton, one of the beamest people I've ever met. They bring him on shows and they ask him. He's basically a car driver. Like, yes,
he's a Formula One driver.
He has like he's or Wayne Rooney, basically like same intelligence as a like an asphalt. But they ask them about what is your favorite movie. It's just human. Again, it's like they've just woke up and they just found out about humanity.
They're finding out about
suck
about everything that way. Yeah. So I mean, I generally hate that. I mean, I picked it up a little bit. Maybe I just jumped to it, but I mean, I do agree that, and we do the same thing with doctors, for instance. I find, I mean, just because you're smart and you become a doctor doesn't mean that your opinion in anything else is educated.
Yeah, I don't even consider doctors to be honest that as smart. They're like mechanics. They're skilled. They are not as smart.
But I mean, they're smart at what they do, or you can be smart in different ways. That doesn't even make sense anyway. Nobody's generally smart. I mean.
No, I meant in a like physicist or chemist. You know what I mean? Like scientist way. Doctors are more like mechanic. Like they're skilled at something.
But even a physicist, he's smart in physics. If right now you bring him talk about history from the 15th century, he'll be as dumb as the next person. Very bad. Yeah.
Sure, but it's more like but like doing a procedure, learning a procedure and repeating it is more like it's like they're factory workers. Like they're not that level of their job's level of intelligence is like assembly line type of thing. That's what it is more for doctors, really. So
yeah, to a certain extent. Okay. Should we leave that there? Anything else on this? Because that was a bit of a tangent anyway. That was
definitely tangent.
That was my fault. Okay, all right. So we're done with this whole section.
Oh, we're not okay. Good. We're not gonna watch the rest of. I thought we're gonna watch.
I mean, because I think he said all the stuff right about Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, all the funny stuff.
Yeah. All right, Sam. We're done. We're done with that part. It started off with my take on smartphones. I want to see if anybody else thinks that maybe kids shouldn't have smartphones, or think about that, or maybe not. And
I would say,
and I'm saying smartphones, but
I think
not
majority of people agree with you, though. I think.
Let's see. I mean,
the world.
I mean, you are right about all things, and maybe my idea is completely stupid, and we shouldn't do this. But anyway, just something that struck me a few days ago. Let's move on to Mr. Julian Assange. So Sam, let me try and give the news as best as I know it, and you can add anything you'd like. So based on my understanding, they had, it was supposed to be a two-day court session on the appeal that the US government is doing on the ruling that no, Julian Assange shouldn't be extradited to the United States because of his health and suicide concerns. So they appealed it. I believe the appeal part is over. It's a two-day thing. So now the judges will have to go and think about it and come back with their decision. And I think some of the new points that were brought up are like the Americans are now saying, oh yeah, Julian Assange could, if he's convicted, he could go to an Australian prison and, serve his time there. But the Julian Assange team is saying that sounds good, but you're saying that you could change your mind on that, and plus who knows how long it's going to take that we even reach that. I believe that's what's come out. And I think they also asked the judge to take into consideration that whole Yahoo News expose that came out saying that how the CIA was thinking of different ways of perhaps assassinating or kidnapping Julian Assange. That's pretty much I believe what the latest is concerning Assange.
And the whole appeal is based on the fact that the psychologist or the counselor omitted the fact that Julian Assange had a child, or he, I don't know. Anyway, so it's all thing based on that. I just saw this video on Katie Halper with two journalists who were at the hearing apparently, and Richard Medhurst and somebody else, and they were saying, like, I don't remember the little details of it, but yeah, they were saying the arguments made by the lawyers for the US government were ridiculous, and it's just like doesn't correspond to the past experiences.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got too. So it seemed like there is a possibility that Assange could become free, right? Once they come back with this verdict, if they reject the US appeal, I think that's it for now.
I think so. I don't know. I think he's serving time for circumventing UK law, as in, because
and he's already
went and took refuge. But yeah, I would think it's time served at this point. I would imagine, like, maximum. I don't know, but yeah, I would hope so. But I don't remember. Yeah, I should have read upon on that. What's the next thing? I don't know if they can appeal it again. Can they? Is there any higher courts they can appeal? There might be.
Who knows? Yeah.
Sometimes you have 6 different layers of courts.
And they're keeping him in prison every time they appeal. That's the thing. So now he's been in prison for 2.5 years already. But
they don't allow him bail.
We shall see. And I just want to say something small about Assange as well. Julian Assange, we keep on hearing, the media doesn't cover the Assange thing, which is very true, especially in the US media. But Al Jazeera, for instance, and France 24 also they covered it. That I saw online. It was okay. It was a 4-minute thing. BBC too, but Al Jazeera, it was their first story on their news hour. And they also had a representative of Assange. They spoke to him outside the court. So they pretty much did as decent as reporting. They didn't go crazy or bash the US and all that, but everything that I said right here, I actually pretty much got it from him. And he said that they don't trust, what the US government is saying, and they can turn. So not bad coverage by them on the Assange thing.
No, to be honest, just US media is particularly I would say, just bad. Although you could say maybe Al Jazeera would be, I don't know if there's the equivalent of, like, somebody's leaked some information about Qatari royal.
No, exactly. That they don't cover.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I've never.
That would be, yeah.
If you watch Al Jazeera, you don't know that they're a Qatar-based outlet, except when they're like advertising and all that. They never talk about Qatar.
That's, I suppose, everybody's got their own blinds. But I'm glad they did a bit of a good job on that. But for a lot, I don't know if you remember Ilham Aliyev, the Azerbaijani president. It's good for them, just because then anytime anybody says, "What about you?" and journalists, they can say, "What about you?" and journalist.
Yeah. And I mean, it's their niche, right? I mean, it's not their niche, sorry, but this is like kind of the best content for them to go after. You know, everybody's kind of like, you know, you do what you can in your circumstance. So they put aside all the things about like Qatar and stuff. They don't talk about that. So if they want to differentiate themselves from CNN or something and have viewers, they have to do this. So it's not like it's not like they're necessarily noble or they love Assange. It's just if they want to be successful.
Yeah, but it's still better than.
Yeah. It's good. It's nice when things work out. But yeah, so nothing else to add on Assange?
Nice when everything comes together. The 8.
Yeah. Okay, should we move on to our third story about Ethiopia and Grayzone?
Yes.
Okay, so let me give a quick synopsis of pretty much a quick. It's a very in-depth article written by TJ Coles on Grayzone. The title is "How the U.S. Enabled Ethiopia's Bloodletting Training Its Military While Playing Innocent Observer." So I mean, as many of you are pretty aware, the central government in Ethiopia right now is at pretty much at war. They're fighting against this resistance, or however you call them, that are in the Tigray region, so in the northwest. So the northwest of the country is pretty much fighting with the army, the central government.
Tigray separatists, pretty much.
Yeah, so put it that way. And the main here, let me read this. This summarizes the article. The Biden administration has sanctioned Eritrea and Ethiopia for alleged crimes against the Tigray people. But over the last 3 decades, successive US governments trained and modernized Ethiopia's military under the cover of peacekeeping operations. So it's pretty much, I believe, the argument that is making is that, fine, maybe right now the US is not meddling too much in this conflict. However, over the decades, they've trained and been very much involved with Ethiopia's military. Is that fair of the general argument? Although the article is very historical in the sense that it goes back decades and talks about what's happened.
I found the historical parts of the article, it was fantastic and all that, because there's so little about, there's very little online about TPLF or whatever, these groups and all that. But the parts where America, I don't like, what do you expect America to do? I don't understood that. Like I didn't like the title of the article and the parts where it got a bit morally. Of course they trained them. They had a deal with the government.
Yeah.
Like and Soviets, by the way, also trained them, because they all were. It was like, you know, they were just like Nasser and, to a lesser extent, Gaddafi, you know, these North African sort of, they were trying to do a balancing act of, you know, between Soviet Union and US. And then after 91, there was only one game in town, US. So I don't know. But yeah, so I found those parts weird. But besides that, it was fantastic. Like as they stand by, what, should they interfere? Should they intervene? That worked out well.
I mean, I don't know if the author would say that, but yeah, I mean, maybe if you have a very good faith. Besides that, the article is really good, but yeah, the things that we're nitpicking,
it's fantastic
right here, kind of. And I also have one criticism after, but I guess like the author is just trying to make the point that the US played this role in the past, and then just highlighting it for people to be aware.
I think sure, but I would say Ethiopia especially, it's one of the few countries that basically was never colonized and all that. So they have a great level of agency as well within their, like this idea that US came and trained them as if like they just walked in. You know, somebody may have invited them, or there were connections, or they may have, walked in some cases.
They walk in a lot of cases. We do know that, but they don't.
But Ethiopia though is not one of those necessary cases, I would say. In fact, we'll get into the nitty gritty of the Ethiopians. Are we going to talk about the nitty gritty of the Ethiopian civil war?
Yeah, I mean, as much as you know and you want to discuss. But I mean, I love to do that. There are 2 points I kind of wanted to make. One is that the article kind of, I feel like the article should have talked about this. So the article is talking about how during decades they trained, the Ethiopian army and all this. But the Tigray, I feel like when you talk about the Tigray minority, and they're 7% of the country, but they're a very specific kind of minority in the sense that they ruled the country for 2 decades or so. They were extremely active, and they, right now they're
the
still
article mentions that.
Does it like highlight that? Okay, so I mean, these people also received the training, and they were also part of the
That's
military.
The thing. Yeah.
And the Tigray people, I mean, right now the head of the WHO, he was part of that Tigray government. That's how much this minority kind of population, how powerful they are. So I felt like that didn't come out of the article enough, if it was mentioned, and if it was, I missed it, and my bad.
No, it was definitely mentioned, but yeah, I would say it's not highlighted the fact that it doesn't, I mean, it does mention it for sure, that following the collapse of the Derg regime, I'm probably mispronouncing all the names because I just read them, I've never heard them. But yeah, you had the emperor, who's, by the way, the Rastafari movement in Jamaica, the emperor of Ethiopia inspired that. Like,
really?
They believe him. Yeah, they believe him to be the second. They believe him to be Mehdi, the savior of the savior promised in Islam and the second coming and all that. He never rejected their claims, but he never fully went, I'm Jesus either. But anyway, you had after that, you had a sort of a nationalistic pro-Soviet, at least in words, regime that played ball with the US. Then after that, you had the civil, and during that pretty much, you had the civil war, which led to the Tigray minority, which played a big role in the fight against the regime. They pretty much took over, I think, in 1991, and were pretty much they until 2016. I think when is the 2012 is the guy dies, the original dictator dies, and then there's 2-3 years of his vice president being thing, and then you had the Muhammad Abiy, who's the current president, who comes from one of the minorities who was mostly
no, he doesn't come from the minority. I think he comes from the
Oromo.
Yeah, they're the biggest, pretty much.
I don't mean as in from an ethnic tribe that was very badly hit by Tigray rule. But he was part of a coalition with them. He was not like some fucking transformational figure. He was, but he could capitalize on his Oromo, I believe, roots. You're right. The article doesn't mention that Tigray have been in, that they, and that's why, by the way, it escalated into a civil war so quickly, because Tigray pretty much compromised probably more than 50% of Ethiopian military, and and there are 2 other regions that collaborate with them, and but it was you're right. It didn't highlight.
I feel like that wasn't mentioned up, and it's just such an important thing. And I mean, the proof of how powerful it is that they just fought against the main government over the past year, and there seems to have reached a stalemate or even defeated them to a certain extent. So just showing up how
they kicked them out. And they are an Eritrean Ethiopian history is intertwined pretty much. I would say it's part of Ethiopia. Eritreans are apparently it is claimed by Tigray forces that they're helping the Ethiopian government.
And that's one of the main
that's one of the main contentious issues between the Tigray party and the Abiy coalition, because they felt in his peace deal with Eritrea, which gave him the Nobel Peace Prize, he may have sort of too much collaborated with a foreign enemy.
So this article is really good, I would say, overall. But one other thing that caught my attention, and I went and found a few tweets, so we're going to show this. And this, I guess, is a good thing to see that, 2 people with different point of views working for the same organization on this. But the takes that Ben Norton has had, and Ben Norton, I don't think has done too much reporting on this issue, because I checked their channel. They just have one video interview that is specifically on Ethiopia from 2 months ago. And I'm not sure if Ben Norton wrote an article on this. So he hasn't gone too deep into it, I believe.
I just opened them.
Okay. Yeah, so let's start with the first one that you sent me. But his takes on this, they haven't resonated too much, like based on like the little bit of knowledge that I have on Ethiopia as well, learning past year. They didn't really seem to go together. So let me read out these 3 tweets that we got. So Ben Norton, the first one says, there is a brutal Western propaganda war being waged against Ethiopia. I don't know, even that I haven't seen too much. The US government is desperately trying to block peace with Eritrea, prevent integration of the Horn of Africa, which the US wants control, and sabotage China's Belt and Road projects there. The last part, yeah, I see it. No, maybe
do you
want me to continue with the tweets, or you want to break them down kind of one by one? Go ahead.
Just before we go ahead and read the rest, I would say I have a strange point of agreement with him there, but not in a way that I think he thinks. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead. But what is it now that you pointed it out?
Oh, okay. I would say, yeah, sure. Like US never wants Ethiopia, in a way, Ethiopia and Egypt, and to a lesser extent, Somalia, like all these nations could become a regional hegemon, just in the same way China and Japan could become, or Russia or Germany could become in Europe and all that. So I would think, yeah, sure, like US would, I would imagine, try to, if they see, for example, if there is a proper plan for integration in Horn of Africa, they would definitely try to balance the power, just like British imperial policy was balance of power, and this concert of Europe and all that. But yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah,
but
no,
that's not news really. But
same.
And the propaganda war, I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, especially, I mean, it's maybe there is, but if you compare it to like other ones that they do, it's just so little compared to it that it kind of undermines other things that they have. They're much more, active with setting the narrative. Here's this second tweet.
Like it's completely ignored, really. But
if anything, yeah. I mean, Al Jazeera, exactly. They cover it. So his second tweet at the UN. At the UN, Ethiopia condemned the external destabilizers backing the TPLF's war on the government, warning foreign meddling is destabilizing the Horn of Africa. It denounced the growing intervention in sovereign countries and scrambled for natural resources. So here, I mean,
really,
his reporting here is a bit weird. It's just so mainstream. Like he literally took like the words that this ruler of another country has said at face value and kind of presents them as, he agrees and they're
And by the way, you remember the whole, I think it was Ben Norton about Joe Biden UN speech, that it is all lies. And he was saying, of course, these are all lies too. Of course, I'm sure intervention in sovereign countries is bad. A scramble for natural resources is bad. But then again, if we do it, it's okay. It's
exactly.
Like if Ethiopian government does it for a bunch of friends we have here. So, yeah, sure. But like, that's like, external, of course they did. Like this is like, Saudi Arabia, anybody who criticizes Saudi Arabia, they say they exactly issue the same things. Like it's the go to. And by the way, to be honest, I am actually, again, like I do think it's better for Muhammad Abiy. Like I would think Ethiopia's future in the hand of a strong man, and I do think Muhammad Abiy is becoming a strong man, would probably be better than this sort of wishy-washy democracy that they have. But, but they're going to lie. Of course, they're going to lie.
And then the last one, this is where I think it really highlights that this one really goes, if you ask me, against what the article was saying. As the US-backed insurgent group TPLF wages a war and destabilize Ethiopia and Eritrea, the government and local media say separatist fighters were caught diverting US and UN food aid and hoarding it for themselves. US aid was forced to issue a statement. So this, I feel like this goes completely to the opposite, because he makes it seem he's saying that the US is backing the TPLF, so the Tigrayan, whereas the article is saying pretty much that the complete it's not saying that they're supporting the central government right now, but it's saying that they did, and right now they're just letting it go. And I mean, I'm glad that
it literally says they're adopting a policy of wait and see who wins, and then we deal with them.
At the end he says that last sentence was very true and sobering. I think it was a good assessment. So I'll show this on the screen right now. And he wrote that if the historical precedent is anything to go by, the current approach is to forge an alliance with the victor after the bloodletting final ends. So I think his take is much more closer, and his arguments are much more closer to based on what I've seen and what I understood. And I don't know where Ben Norton got this whole thing that the US is so on the side of the Tigrayan to destabilize, especially, sure, I understand there's been, sorry, one last thing. I understand that there seems to be some kind of falling out between the US and Ethiopia. Something's going on, but as you mentioned, they love this guy. I believe they used to love this. They gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe that's more the Europeans, but you know, that's usually a sign that you're a guy and we like it. And
well, that's the thing, though. We love you. They loved Gaddafi. Blair hyped Gaddafi. We love you until you become a bit of a problem. So I don't know. That's the thing. He's got a bit of an independent streak. He snubbed. Ethiopia snubbed Samantha Powers for something, and Samantha Powers is one of these, you know, one of the top echelons of sort of deepest. But this is weird. And TPLF, they're like Marxist nationalists. Like even long before that, they were the sort of a slightly more nationalist like segment of. I think that was their whole fucking civil war with Derg. So because Derg was also, or Derg, whatever, they were also sort of Marxist, but they were more like global. I mean, they all sold out to US, by the way. So that when the time came, when they came to power, they also left the US. Nobody continued the international revolution. But yes, so I don't know. I don't know. I like to see evidence if they're US backed. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I would like to see. But I really enjoyed this article in the Grayzone. I'd like to see a Ben Norton.
Was so rich.
Yeah, if he writes something else or if he says something else, because his take on Ethiopia have always been haven't added up to me when I've seen it.
And I don't, again, I mean, they may be backed by US now. You never know in these days. Like you find MEK's former Marxist, like, you know, cool. It would be, it's an interesting conflict.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way.
It's awful.
But okay, I mean, I'll leave it at that. I don't think I have anything else to say on the Tigray and Ethiopia situation. But yeah, check out this article, and if some folks know more about Ethiopia than us, or you know, they prefer Ben's take and everything, just let us know or what we're missing.
If anybody knows a good English language news like outlet, because like
on Ethiopia.
No, on English, like Ethiopia specifically, that would be great. But just it's hard to find news about African countries and like about history of their parties and all that. It's pretty difficult, or the leaders, or you know, that.
Probably for me, and things like that. That's probably your best bet. Yeah.
It's not digitized yet.
But yeah, okay. I don't have anything else to say here. Should we move on to our Joe Rogan story? To my Joe Rogan story, kind of. I brought them. So there are two of them. So one is, and I'll play the clip in a second. It's John Lemon, or whatever, and he's talking to the Dr. Sukta guy. And let's watch the clip.
Thing about ivermectin that I think wasn't actually correct about CNN and lying. Okay, ivermectin is a drug that is commonly used as a horse dewormer. So it is not a lie to say that the drug is used as a horse dewormer. I think that's important, and it is not approved for COVID. Correct?
That's right. That's correct. It is not approved for COVID, and you're right. I mean, the FDA even put out a statement saying, you know, basically reminding people, it was a strange sort of message from the FDA, but that said, you're not a horse, you're not a cow, stop taking this stuff, is essentially what they said, referring to ivermectin. Now, I think what Joe's point is...
It has been approved for humans, but not necessarily for COVID, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, now that we've
we discussed the clip, by the way, once before in our other show.
This is a newer version, no?
I mentioned it.
Oh, you mentioned
it. No. I mentioned it, but we didn't play it, but yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's a short one. And I mean, my only point here is just how pathetic CNN's attempt to like start a beef or continue a beef or something for with Joe Rogan kind of YouTube style and keep it going, just how pathetic it is. And I mean, he should just stop responding and just saying anything to them, because that's all their like, half-ass attempt of starting a beef with him is.
Yeah. And I think projection is just fascinating, because he says, he starts the discussion by saying you had a bit of a cheeky interview, as in it's not a serious interview like the ones Don Lemon
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, cries at anything, that guy. So that's how he starts it, and then doesn't allow Sanjay Gupta to finish his answers. The whole interview lasts less than 7 minutes, and you're the serious one. Yeah,
sure. I mean, and it's
no, but I mean, besides the fact that his whole the way he presents and shit, it's like a fucking I used to go to summer boarding schools, those teachers that are not really teachers, they don't have qualifications,
okay,
but they're like old enough to be hired to look after other children. He has that whole vibe to it. It's like camp,
like a summer camp moderator or moderator.
Yeah, summer camps. Yeah, that's that. Like that. Yeah, and then anyway, yeah, anyway. I don't think that was an attempt to start the beef. I think that was just CNN being particularly great at doing their job.
Maybe. I mean, it is 101 like CNN misleading statement again, just the way they talk about that medication. I mean, it's just such a misleading way done on purpose.
It's like they're talking about a different thing. It's completely like they changed the premise. He's saying you lied about what I did. They are saying, no, the other thing could be described as what we said. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah.
No. So, I mean, I don't think you should pay any more attention to them. Now, let's move on to another story, again, about Joe Rogan. So this one, did you watch this one about his comments about paternity leave? So
yes, I watched the TYT video you sent me, and Sam Cedar and on Majority Report apparently had a similar thing. I saw that.
Oh, okay. So maybe you can add to what I'm saying. I didn't see that. But Joe Rogan says that, I don't understand why men also need paternity leave. I mean, he has a take that I totally don't agree with. Go ahead.
He doesn't say men. He says why. I mean, at first he says somebody who gave birth, which implies, I think he clarifies that it means why both parents need.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't agree with his take whatsoever. Okay. So that's clear. Let's put it aside. And it was a bit weird. He goes this one part where it says like, why would they both have to take it at the same time? And it kind of gave me the impression that like, he's making it seem like the husband and wife are working for like the same company. So they'll both be leaving their spaces for that time. I mean, one owner doesn't care if what the other owner is doing to your husband and wife. I don't know if he meant that, but it kind of gave me that impression. Because he said, why would they both need to take it at the same time? It just kind of gave me that impression.
I think he clearly meant it as in one person is enough to take care of a baby. That's what he meant.
Maybe. But then
maybe, I think your speculation is far more strange for him to think every parent is thinking for the same company.
Because
he was very odd for him to think that.
Yeah, you are right. But his main concern was kind of like the employer, and the employer being left, without an employee who they have to pay for. So I just felt like most of his concerns were about.
I think his most concern was that paid. Yeah, his most concern was that why do I need to pay somebody if there is somebody else taking care of the baby? I think that seemed to be his concern.
No, I think he's saying, why would I have to pay for you if you don't come to my work, if you don't come to work?
Yeah, and somebody is there to take care of your child.
Maybe.
I think he agrees with one person's.
Yeah, he does seem to agree with. He does seem to agree with one person, but. Then TYT.
Just before we go to the TYT and their take, which is whatever, but I just want to, on the substance of the thing, I don't because the video TYT and other ones, like they discuss other countries. I don't agree with two parents being allowed to take like 52 weeks off, like some countries. I think Japan. That is fucking crazy. And that is, I'm sorry, but that's not that's kindergarten life, like, and by the way, most like like this is all usually applies to PMC's professional managerial class. If you're a delivery boy, this type of benefit doesn't apply to. So fuck that. But I do think both parents having 3 months off to take care of a child could be a great. It's not, I don't have this sort of romanticized view of parents. Some parents are better off far distance from their children, but most studies show that if you show love and care to your child during the first like trimester, first months and first year and all that, it's psychologically we probably have less crazy people around. So but yeah, 52 weeks for both people, like this is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
get a year off if they have a baby, but
yeah, I don't disagree with that too much. Maybe the mother should get long. Maybe the father should just get like a month. He doesn't, and no time leading up to it, because the woman should also get some time. But yeah, these can be discussed, and both shouldn't get 3 years off or something, or like the exact same amount. That's not what I'm saying either.
Yeah, the mother. Yeah, that's the thing. I think both should get some time off, because you need, like, if we discussed this in the.
I mean, the mother is a, it's a pretty much a given. I mean, there's like some biological like requirements. I mean, I guess you could pump and leave breast milk at home, but
if she wants to go back to work, that's fine. Yeah, but I think you're right. I would imagine it's harder for a woman to go. Anyway, but in TYT, I actually kind of wanted to. Let's get.
I mean, the TYT one. I mean, what is just that they take his take on this so seriously, and they're like, listen to what Joe Rogan is saying, and then they do a 10-minute thing, and then like bashing it and stuff. I mean, like, he's just Joe Rogan. I mean, his name is Joe. He's just an average Joe when it comes to these things. Don't take his take so seriously. I mean, he has a show. I was telling you this it's like his show's about nothing, right? His show's about, there's an interview with this person and they talk, and it's about whatever. He's not like advancing a specific thing. Yeah. And I mean, this is his take. A lot of people on the street have messed up takes like this. We might think is messed up. Anna and John might think is messed up. And perhaps it is. But I mean, he's just a normal guy. You don't need to like, oh, how could he say this? How could he have this take? That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't watch Joe Rogan for like to find.
I don't even watch him anymore because
because he's not on YouTube.
He's annoying. That is true. I mean, he says a lot of annoying things all the time that I don't agree with. So
I don't hate him as much as you, but but again, like I don't like, this is not like I don't read Superman comic books to find like, to set my agenda for Asian geopolitical outlook, like that is how I
exactly.
So yeah, that's one thing that but the TYT people, John Idora or whatever, he seems to suggest, let's say his substantive point is that why do you guys follow, I'm quoting him, why do you guys follow these rich a-holes who, like, if I don't know, somebody else shaved their head and smoked pot and that's like, you follow these, why are you like idolize these rich a-holes, and they have a negative effect on like outcomes, like he's pushing corporate agenda like paternity leave and all that. That seemed to be their substantive argument. But the way they came across, I mean, they were literally green with envy. So many times they mentioned the $100 million deal.
Like, what was his Spotify deal? Like $100 million? It
was a lot.
Just to switch over. That's not his pay. That was a bonus for switching over. He just is going to keep doing the same show he was ever doing. He just talks. He smokes weed. He talks. Yeah.
And again, by the way, I'm a very jealous person in my real life and all that. And I understand it. I completely understand jealousy and like not being as successful as you want to be, or as successful as somebody you think is below you or whatever. but try to in public control yourself, because it doesn't work out well when you express that jealousy. It doesn't come across well.
Yeah.
And it did feel like complete jealousy or clickbait thing. It kind of like the Facebook thingy guy that, why do you guys idolize these tech bros? Why don't you guys listen to us? Yeah, because you're awful, and they somehow managed to, get an audience somehow, for whatever reason. And but their substantive point was that, and okay, but I don't think that's true though. I don't think even most Joe Rogan fans necessarily, like whatever he says, they go, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Follow, sir.
I mean,
so.
He likes MMA. I'm sure most of his audience doesn't even give a shit. He hasn't turned all of them into MMA people. He likes to go shooting for elk and eating just meat and all this. I know vegans watch his stuff. I mean, I can say that as a vegan. In the past, I've watched his content, and he didn't turn me into elk hunter or whatever, right? Or what's his name? Sagar has like childish level conservative anti-weed takes, pretty much, right? I mean, I haven't watched the video for a while, but like pretty much like you take a puff, then next thing you know, you're area, and then you're good. And
his foreign policy takes,
but I mean, that too. But let's stick to the weed one for the example. But Joe Rogan is the world's biggest advocate of weed, and I mean, you've seen how much Sagar loves Joe Rogan. But now Sagar doesn't go around smoking weed and promoting, marijuana. I don't think so. As recently as last year. True, the smoking, So it's not like people are just watching and they're taking all this. And he does have a big audience, and I'm sure a lot of people learn some good stuff from him and some dumb stuff from him. But it is what it is. And
TYT is so upset that he made a deal with Spotify, and they made a deal with YouTube, and they got fucked.
maybe that is the reason.
No, they did. They tried to go on the whole YouTube TV thing. They put all their eggs in that. I think that was big. Anyways, but it does come across as quite jealousy, even though they do try to make a substantive point. I don't think that their point stands scrutiny in the face of reality, frankly. So.
All right, Sam, let's move on to our final segment, our country briefs. So why don't you get us started with the first one?
Sure. I mean, today we're going to talk about a couple of countries. I think we're going to talk about Iran and Britain for sure, and some more if we have time, to be honest. But let's get into it. First of all, Iran, and in a way, kind of Afghanistan comes into it, but it's mostly focused on Iran. On Iran, we have two major stories. One is regarding the nuclear talks, which is it doesn't have a big headline. There was a couple of developments which was interesting. Just let me give the last first, which is that apparently Iran claims that the talks are going to start next week, basically after the coming Sunday. So Iran claims that they're going to have talks soon. And they also, Iranian officials during for the nuclear negotiations that has said that the aim is the removal of sanctions, and China and Russia are cooperating very well with us. So he's saying positive signs there, but at the same time, he said the violators are far from the negotiating table, which is a reference to US, basically. There was also a report that Iran actually invited 3 European countries for negotiations on the nuclear matter. I mean, this was according to Iranian sources, and Iran said that the Europeans did not reply to its invitations. European officials are apparently, according to Reuters, are saying that there was no invitation. So this is just, I think 2 weeks ago, we reported that Brussels, there seems to be a very, the level of communication, miscommunication, whatever. It's just not at the organizational and bureaucratic level, things are falling apart a bit in negotiations, a lot of miscommunications. So that was quite.
So that's interesting. So according to the Iranians, they're going to resume the nuclear talks for the first time under the big. under the new president. So that's a pretty relative big deal, right? If it actually resumes.
Yeah. Sorry,
Go ahead.
I did make a mistake though. They didn't. Next week is not going to resume. Next week they're going to announce the date of the resumption. So,
but I mean, I've read the headlines from articles.
They're
kind of talking like the way you're saying, right? Like
Iran nuclear. I mean, they keep saying, "Oh, we are coming back to the negotiation table, and we just need more time to put the framework
But even
together."
New York Times, Iran will rejoin nuclear talks. Yeah, top negotiators. Iran's set to return to nuclear talks. But you're right. So the Europeans haven't come out and said that, though. This is just the Iranians.
No, and yeah, that's the thing. Iran says that they're going to announce the date for resumption of talks. I don't know if that means this date has been okayed with Europeans. Are they in the loop? Whatever. But interestingly, this comes right after. Yeah, they rarely are, but this comes right after there was reports that allegedly Trita Parsi, who's a great expert on Iranian-US relations, was on the Hill discussing this. But there was reports that apparently Iran has backed down from Iran originally wanted the new US government to guarantee that any future government would also be would honor the deal or whatever plan of action, whatever it is, right? And now it seems about 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, Iranians kind of backed off and said, okay, we are happy if Biden just promises during his own administration. But then apparently US officials have said they haven't said no, but it's just like, we're thinking right now.
I see.
So, so that's according to reports. But I don't think they have been confirmed for sure. These are officials. And so, I don't know, maybe Iran is, under pressure, sort of moving more towards a more conciliatory note.
Very interesting. Okay.
All right. So besides that, we had a big summit in Tehran surrounding the Afghanistan issue. And the first important news regarding this summit was not anything to do with the summit itself, was the fact that Taliban was not invited. For all the, I can't believe all these liberals that keep going on about the fact that, and by the way, I love the fact that liberals have a memory of a goldfish, so to speak. Like a month ago, they were saying that, Iran has supported Taliban and China and blah, blah, blah. And now they're saying, oh, Iran is so worried about Taliban. Oh, they shouldn't have supported them. Look, anyways, it's a tangent. But it's just the media coverage. The media coverage is just,
You're referring to Western media coverage too, right? I mean, of course.
Yes. And Persian. Yeah, I mean, most Persian media outlets are funded by Western sources. Western sources. Anyways, but there was they had a big summit in Tehran, and Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Central Asian countries were all there. China was there, and China seemed to be the sort of the representative of Taliban. China said that Taliban, who has now taken charge of the Afghanistan, has said that they are open and willing to respect international norms, your usual non-committal political stuff. But it seems that China is trying to, because China, in a way, China is the main, let's say, rival to the US, and China knows if Taliban is not integrated regionally, it could become a hotbed for a lot of things that could meddle with China, both inside China and in Pakistan, and with its allies like Iran and all that. So that was interesting. Iranian foreign minister interestingly came out and said that any what do they call it when summits, they issue any statement issued by the summit,
joint statement
represents joint statement represents the joint view, represents the views of the summit, not of the Iranian government. So if there is, so he wanted to, I suppose, distance themselves from a more politically sort of conciliatory sort of tone towards Taliban. That was very interesting. And after, it was interesting, right after the summit, the head of, in the foreign ministry, the head of, let's say, the West Asian section, which includes Afghanistan, West Asia section, which includes Afghanistan, came out and warned that Taliban could be a very big threat for the strategic long-term view of Iran. So tensions there seem to be somewhat rising and stuff. And yeah, I don't know if you have any comments on this.
No, very interesting. And no, this the only thing I keep on seeing, not the only thing, but the Iranians are loving this whole Afghanistan Taliban of inclusive government. That seems to be their key word, this whole inclusive that they're going about. And they're referring to Shias, kind of, right? Or
yeah, basically they're saying, please do not do a genocide of Shias and Hazaras, because it would lead to an immigration crisis for us. It's not like that we, really care, or that seems to be largely, please do not just. And right now, pretty much it seems from the reports, it's not clear, but it seems the Pakistani segment, the Haqqani network within Taliban, is going and getting rid of all the Qatari all the people who may have had any interest in the whole inclusive government. So we'll see.
I see. But okay, but I mean, the nuclear stuff is relatively big news if they do actually resume talks and see how it goes. I mean, before they were talking, and nothing was happening, and now they fully stopped. So I don't know, maybe under the new
it's
government.
Like elections now. It's like every 2 years you have negotiations.
But okay, I have nothing else to add.
I just wanted to briefly also add that Erdogan also interestingly visited Azerbaijan, and Iran is still Iran has a summit or a conference every other day about Iran-Azerbaijan relations and all that, and PMs and all that. They go and talk to MPs to go and talk and all that. And Erdogan went to Azerbaijan and he gave his kind of rhetorical support to Azerbaijan, and he said, as long as Iran acts within reason or reasonably, however you translate it, there shouldn't be a problem with Azerbaijan and Iranian relations. Kind of, he's trying to achieve this sort of godfather status in the region and sort of give his blessing and all that. And that was the reaction within Iranian media was not positive.
I was going to say, how did the Iranian take that?
Officially, nothing has. Iranian officials are relatively conservative in their foreign policy, but the media is not happy.
Not like what is like the approach towards Erdogan, like in the media and like in Iran generally, like anything of interest to say?
Whenever they like him because he stands up to the West media. I'm talking about media. Government officials obviously just depends on the wind, but media, it's weird because they kind of like him, but at the same time there is that deep and historical sort of animosity, and he with Ottomans, which he very much tries to sort of emulate, so they really don't like that.
Okay.
So it's they have a very schizophrenic relationship, I think.
I see. This reminded me of a segment that I wanted you to do, and I'd forgotten this for some other time, but to talk about Iran-Russia relations, just a video on Iran-Russia relations right now. No, and Turkey would be interesting too. And also I would like you to make a video soon on the 1953 coup d'etat and, the US involvement and all that. So I'm just remembering.
So are you saying all of this publicly? So I'm public announcement, so I'm forced into.
So now you have to. But okay. All right. Would you like to move on to the next country brief?
Sure. Yeah. Let's next to Britain or Europe more specifically, although then it will get a bit more, what do you say? They'll merge. Will become a smaller.
Okay.
No, not merge. Just get
narrow down or focus.
Reduced to one country. Narrow down. Gets focused to a single country. So the first you had the very, very interesting, like relative by European standard. This is like as close as to a like cool news as you can get in Europe. So you had fishing wars are back. And anybody who's interested in British fishing history knows that Britain has had quite a lot of fishing wars, mostly with Iceland. But fishing wars flare as Britain summons French ambassador, and this is in response to the fact that French authorities detained two British ships, although one of them was fined and let go, from what I understand, immediately. And that was because they didn't like follow with certain regulations. The other one was caught because they didn't have a license. And apparently, but the idea for them to be detained is a very harsh, relatively, harsh punishment. And this comes in the light or in the heels of the increasing tensions between France and Britain over the fishing issue, because France claims that Britain has not issued enough licenses, not according to the deal they had with the EU. They've broken that deal and they have not issued enough licenses, and specifically they have targeted French fishermen. And Britain says that no, we haven't. We followed the quotas and all that. And France is even threatened to cut off the energy to Jersey, which is a British-owned island, but I think it's independent for tax purposes. But and so this is pretty cool. And then I remember a couple, even I don't know if this was before they detained the British ships, but Britain said they're gonna have Navy get involved, and French fishermen, I think a month ago, blockaded a port, and now French is saying their Navy might get involved. So this is as cool as pretty much Europe gets in terms of news. So I really wanted to cover that. It's probably gonna end up as lame as everything else in Europe. Sort of it ends with a negotiation and a deal. But obviously the French are saying that British are basically, playing politics on this issue, because fishermen are in the UK are usually it's a base of conservatives. It's working class community, but somewhat conservative, and they want to keep them and all that. And then the British are saying Macron is playing politics before French election. He's trying to bolster his nationalistic credentials and all that. So, as usual, everybody's blaming everybody else.
Yeah, very nice. I had missed this story. I mean, I didn't see it yesterday or the day before somehow. I guess I didn't get my daily dosage of France 24.
It's interestingly, France 2024 was mostly focused on G20 summits, which we might discuss. But that was a cool. And Liz Truss, UK foreign minister now, Jesus Christ, the cheese lady. She's meeting with French officials and all that. So I'm sure.
Yeah. So the problem
developments are to come.
And was there anything about migrants or no? Because I mean, that's a little bit of a water issue that France and UK have too. Okay.
Yeah, Calais and all that. No, this is. And by the way, I would say UK historically has lost most of its fishing wars, so it's not looking good. But we'll see. And Jersey, I think energy-wise is that's a bad one.
But the fishing one has been a story, and both when it comes to the Brexit deal and now this.
It is a good distraction because it's not like an important industry, and you can play up your nationalistic credentials.
And you're right. And I think you're right. I mean, I think in the UK there's a lot of politics that goes into it, probably in France too. But it sounds like this, like any other issue. But yeah. Did you have anything else on EU? I had a small EU news story. I actually forgot.
No, I didn't have anything on EU. Go ahead. I had something on UK.
Oh, I mean, yeah, okay. I'll just say this quickly, and you probably read this, but Europe's energy crisis, I'm reading from Euronews, prices drop after Putin orders Gazprom to fill EU stocks. European gas prices have dropped after a meeting between Vladimir Putin and Gazprom officials. The Russian president instructed the country's state-controlled natural gas company to pump more supplies into EU, prompting the immediate fall in prices on Thursday. So a little bit of development there on the whole gas crisis in the EU.
That's somewhat I mean, I guess economy doesn't work all at the same time, but I just read on DW that apparently inflation in Germany jumped above 4%. So that's interesting. It might come down now.
Yeah, this just happened, and they're also and apparently there we go. Some European politicians alleged that Russia was withholding gas deliberately to pressure German and EU authorities into speeding final regulatory approval for the Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
Nord Stream 2.
Yeah, so apparently they also got a little bit of, apparently one German politician or something, I had read this somewhere else, but said something positive about the pipeline. So they may be saying because of that, but others are saying is Putin said to do this because until I believe like next week or so, or they just finished filling up their own reserves back to whatever was needed, and now they're gonna do the same for the EU. But I mean, the EU hate on Russia and Putin and stuff so much, but they're so dependent on his gas right now. I mean, it's so funny.
I don't think they are that dependent.
No?
Because as we discussed this before, because Russia is so dependent on them for so many other things.
That's true too, but they're
that's
also
not real dependency.
I mean, they seem to be fully dependent. I mean, they're dependent on gas, and that's the easiest and fastest way to get their hands on energy.
Sure, but I agree with that. I'm just saying this narrative that Putin was cutting oil off, and I don't believe any of that.
I didn't say they were. I didn't say that. I agree.
Russia is in no position to use Europe's energy dependency on Russia because Russia is so weak. Sadly, they're in no position to leverage that. Yeah,
I'm not saying they were leveraging it on purpose, but just like it's just a product, an important product that they have and that the Europeans desperately need.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I agree with you there, definitely.
And based on everything that's come out, Gazprom and the Russians had fulfilled all their contractual obligations to the Europeans. So they weren't like withholding any gas or and nothing like that. Yeah, so you're totally right there.
I mean, we don't know the background of like the meetings, but
but I mean that's what's come out. That's what's come out and
discussed.
Yeah, nobody's accusing them of not withholding their contracts or anything, of not obeying by their contracts. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so in the UK you also had we had the budget pretty much came out, and this one again the story starts before the actual budget. Before we get into the budget itself.
So sorry, just a quick question. This is like what, the annual government budget or what?
I don't know if it's the annual or quarter. I think it's annual. Yeah, it's the government annual budget, I think.
Yeah, that would make sense. We're in October going
into
December.
That's a very bad thing not to know. But I think it's the annual budget. But it was before getting into the budget itself, the conservative government was even like there is always the budget, the best bits and worst bits kind of get leaked in the weeks before. But this time they went crazy. It was like literally like they were pretty much announcing things like, this guy just walked into the Independent and told us like half of the budget. Like most of the budget came out pretty much beforehand. And so the Speaker of the House got really angry and pretty much kind of asked Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, to kind of resign or ask the ministers who are leaking it, because according to ministerial code, you shouldn't tell reporters about the budgets and all that. So, he got really pissed off, which was really angry. I don't know, maybe we play the video if I managed to send it to Camille in time. So you had that, but then the budget itself came out very short on details. It was one of the least substantive budgets in recent memory, I would say. And it seems that Conservative Party is this coalition between sort of right now is, but you still have these sort of neoliberal fiscal conservatives, and Rishi Sunak himself is kind of their representative, and more people who are like Boris Johnson, One Nation conservatives, I would say, sort of populists who are more about power than economics and that type of thing. Not that they don't mind neoliberalism. In fact, they love it because it allows them to flourish and get rich. But he served in Cameron's government, but their priorities are different. And the budget and the whole discussion before the budget was that who's going to come on top? Is it going to be a biggest spend one, Boris trying to buy off people, or Rishi Sunak's more fiscal conservatism win? And what came out is so short on details that you can't tell. But it seems like in terms of like the way it's covered, Boris seems to have won. But the details are, for example, I think it is announced that there's going to be 6 billion spent on transportation. But like I believe 4.5 of it was already announced. So this is just the 1.5 billion top up. Yeah. So I don't think I haven't read the budget myself yet. From the commentary and reviews I read from it, they say that it's very short on details. So we'll see.
Okay.
Like the NHS one. Oh, like they announced extra funding for the NHS while the funding for NHS for the next year has not yet been calculated. So how can you have extra, like whatever is there? You know what I mean? Like extra funding means extra to what? There is no.
I see. Yeah, very interesting. And while you were talking, I was trying to figure out what kind of budget it is. They call it the autumn budget. Autumn, like
it's
fall.
Quarterly. I think it's quarterly.
I don't know if that really makes sense. I don't know. Maybe that's just what they call it, because then they're talking about, adding it for the year and increasing the budget for the year. So.
Oh, okay. Then maybe that's just a noun, just a name.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
in the year ending April. Yeah. I don't know. But no, I mean. That makes sense. Yeah. But okay, what else do we have?
I feel like that mistake undermined any substance we have. You shouldn't ask this type of questions about like dates, names, and duration of things. I'm not good at it.
No, but it's good. You actually got into detail of what's important. That's exactly what mainstream media is important. What mainstream media is good at. They'll point out the person's name and the dates and stuff to death. They never miss that. I remember there was this crazy misogynist like story killer in the US a while ago. Like this kid went and killed like 3 girls and 3 women, and they said the guy's name so many times in the news reports. It was just like that's all that was stuck in my head. Like blah 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 blah, the person's name. Blah 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 blah, the person's name. So
Aged blah, named blah.
So I think people watching this should consume us hand in hand with mainstream media, complete each other.
Their specific information with our analysis may you get you somewhere. It won't, but anyway. All right. So I was. This is not so much of a country brief as in I wanted to give a sort of Pacific brief, world brief. I didn't know how to organize it because I wanted to talk about the G20 summit, which just started, and about the coverage surrounding it, really. It's more of a press brief, really, and a couple of other issues. So yeah, let's call it press brief, whatever. I don't know if you followed the G20, anything regarding that.
I mean, all I know is that it's about to start on Saturday, and I haven't. I've heard that Biden is going to meet the Pope first, and then he's going to meet Macron first, but that's as far as
no, it was very interesting. The press seemed largely focused on Biden's visit, and so interestingly, so many articles I saw were focused on the fact that Biden leaves incomplete agenda at home coming to the thing. So, the fact that US still goes on with the whole reconciliation bill and infrastructure bill and Joe Manchin and cinema and all that, And the fact that, by the way, they are like one of the big debates surrounding that is the climate policies within that budget. So I think that's undermining him in a way. And then you also had a lot of articles about China, and leaders should call on China to act on climate change and all that. So that seemed to be the press sort of focus on this G20 summit. You also had the news that there will be some talks regarding Iran's nuclear talks, but on the sides of the summit, not as a part of the summit itself.
And perhaps maybe I would just add that there's the COP, the climate change conference, the main one, started last week, but like the real big week is this week. So perhaps the whole climate change news stories come from that as well.
That's in Scotland, right?
Yeah, that's in Scotland. And I've heard the same thing saying that, Biden's agenda for climate change is also not, set as this big climate conference is coming up, this big UN conference. Well, it's ongoing.
No, yeah, exactly. And Boris Johnson, by the way, has been saying because they, in the budget, they cut taxes for domestic flights or so. So, yeah, and I just wanted to, again, this is one of those reductionist segments, like in terms of format. So, as I mentioned, in the US, you still have the Joe Manchin and Cinema going, blocking the, Biden. It's some people say they're just the head of the tip of the iceberg. There are 14 other senators waiting. But interestingly, Joe Manchin came out and gave an interview that was like interpreted, like it was so vague that it almost like he's becoming a beat poet now. Like, it's just like speaking in codes. I'm for people doing the right thing, paying the right share. So Joe Manchin did the whole beat poet sort of rap segment, which had all the press confounded, and everybody was going, did he say he supports? I don't get it. So it's not clear what he supports or what he doesn't support, but it does seem Biden administration does seem surprising. I mean, if he's playing this whole act, it does seem they're putting some pressure on him, which is to me surprising. But yeah, but it's an interesting one. We'll see what comes at the end of it. I'm not very hopeful for climate change policies or social policies, but we'll see. So you had that going on in the US, and interestingly, this is a sort of US-China one. You had General Milley. I don't know if you recall who that is, but I'll get back to that. But General Milley, a US top official, military official. Sorry, I want to.
Yeah, no,
top
I'm not
US
familiar
general.
with him.
No, I just love the fact that I opened the article to read his specific position, and in the article is a top US general. So I think they were as clueless as I am when they wrote it. Has raised concerns about the hypersonic missile test conducted by China. So China conducted this hypersonic missile test, which, by the way, if you're interested in military and all that, it is a genuine, interesting, it is in terms of weaponry, it is something new and somewhat more like it's not a game changer. I'm getting to that, but it's fascinating how it works, and it does have advantages real advantages to the old system from Soviet times. Sorry.
So there is some truth to it. They did try out something at the very least.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sure. Everybody, anyway, like hypersonic weaponry is being researched by everybody. And by the way, US response to press when they said, "Are you worried about this?" was that the US state official or defense official said that, "Oh, well, we have our own tangible research and efforts in hypersonic weaponry and technology." And US, I don't believe US has this specific technology, but it's by the way, again, I forget, was it the Hill or some, I try to find the link and put it in the description, but they bring in somebody, like, this is not a game changer in any way, but the US top General Milley, he described it as close to a Sputnik moment. And if anybody is not familiar, a Sputnik was a moment where in the official narrative, where the space race is kicked off, where Americans see Russians getting ahead in space technology and decide to go to the moon by the end of the decade and all that stuff. So that's how he describes it. And I wanted to Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. So
okay,
you don't remember anything from this guy?
No, not at all. His name really doesn't ring a bell.
He was the guy who turned out. I mean, he leaked it. He said it. Somebody leaked it, or he told it to a Congress or Senate hearing that he, during the January 6th, when things was going crazy and Trump and all that, he contacted the Chinese and he told them that don't worry, like there won't be a nuclear war. And he told, he built up himself as, I told the officials, if there is going to be a nuclear war, there is a chain of command, and I am part of that chain of command. You remember?
No, I missed this whole story. No.
Well, I thought we talked about it. Anyway, yeah. But this guy, and now this guy is ringing the alarm for the Chinese threat with hypersonic weapon. It's all a kabuki theater from both sides just to sell more weapons. And just I love the fact, the guy who admitted to basically like that's, by the way, when you get into wars, it's so funny when you read about wars and you're like, oh, all the leaders were in contact the whole time, and it's just they were just sending soldiers to death, but they were contact. It's just and this guy is now worried about the Sputnik moment of China. I'm sure it's not about increasing his budget, but it was just fascinating. And short-term memory, by the way, of media, that part is like anyway. It just, to me, it seems like you should mention that his other noted experiences with Chinese.
No, I mean,
although I suppose they could say what you're saying proves that he's unbiased and he's always trying to take the middle way. So
well, they should address it.
That would be a good response.
Yeah, they should have made that point though.
Sure. Well, I'll make their points first.
Yeah.
but yeah, this whole hypersonic thing is it's a couple of years ago Russia also
I gotta look into it. I don't know too much about it at all.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, this one apparently goes outside of the atmosphere and then glides down. But as the expert was saying, China already has enough missile nuclear capabilities to attack US and vice versa, obviously. So it's not a game changer in any real sense of the word.
Agree there.
All right, so I'm done with this whole press US war G20 brief, and now let's talk about Sudan.
Let's talk about Sudan. I think that's our last story, huh?
Yeah, that's the last one.
So you're familiar with it. You've been watching, following. Do you want to give a little overview?
Been reading about it.
Reading. Sorry, no, watch. I wasn't going to say covering. Yeah, watching and reading about it. So, do you want to give a quick little overview of the past year or two, and then say what happened recently, or do you want to just go with recently, like this week?
I was gonna, I was gonna give a bit more overview, more generally, that you had this dictator in Sudan for many years, Omar Bashir, who again was typical sort of African leader that, you try to play both sides. For a couple of years, you're good with the West, but then you're too corrupt to actually handle your own situation. So the West sort of stops supporting you and then you fall off and all that. So you had him for many years and there was so much unhappiness and unrest and all that, he got removed. And in 2009, you had a deal, sort of a peace deal between the civilian-led protesters, civilian-led whatever, and the military, who was obviously the remnants of Bashir and all that, right? So you had that since 2009. So for the last 2 years, but there has
2019,
been, 2019, 2 years.
Yeah, you said 9 anyway.
Oh, sorry. 2019. I'm not good with dates.
I mean, that was a big. Sorry, I'm just going to add at the 2019. I mean, like some kind of mini revolution, like civilian-led, happened during that time, right? And they toppled them, and then they made this whole like civilian-based government kind of to help with the transition.
Egypt. Yeah, they didn't topple them. It was like military basically said, okay, we get rid of this guy. But, you know,
but then
on,
they
guys,
did make a council with some civilians on it. And I mean, that brings us to the latest part of the story, right?
Yes,
Kinda.
yes, that's the thing. Then, yeah, and there was all these reports. But by the way, all throughout the 2 years, there was reports of government mishandling of the situation and military sort of not staying true to the deal and either covertly or overtly interfering. And then finally, you had General Bahran arresting the civilian leaders and putting them under house arrest. And now claiming, because the deal was supposed to lead to an election next year, I think. And then before that election, so General Bahran has arrested the civilian leaders and has put them under the house arrest. And basically I think they said they're gonna choose the civilian government. So Bahran has not announced himself as of yet as the dictator. Yeah, that was the overview I was going to give, but yeah.
No.
You want to add anything?
No, great stuff. That's also pretty much all I know about. So this has been going on for 2 to 3 days. Apparently there's only one of the civilian leaders who hasn't been arrested for some reason or hasn't been put under house arrest. So he's still being vocal. But it's funny, you said that it's kind of like Egypt, but I mean, on the superficial level that I know a little bit, I kind of liked one thing that Sudan did, unlike Egypt, because in Egypt, you remember how quickly they rushed to an election, right? And then they had the Muslim Brotherhood, and then they were like, okay, get out, and the military took over. So I think overall it ended up being the same thing. But them, I like how they didn't say, okay, all right, fine, okay, tomorrow elections. No, they were like, okay, 2-year transition with civilian and military.
I mean, that seems to have worked out.
The end game seems to be the same. So I guess I was proven wrong. But when I heard about it, I was like, this makes more sense, you know, if you've never organized something, you should take your time a little bit. But I guess the end is the same. So.
Yeah, I don't know. This is, yeah, exactly. It's like more C, 6 months of more C. You reduce it, but that's the difference. But no, okay. But what I found interesting and wanted to, as you Sudan is not something I have, of course, read about the country and stuff, but it's not somewhere it's a strong suit of mine for sure. But I did see this video, which we put the link in the description. Sorry, I forget if the US official was the ambassador to Sudan or a representative or a special envoy. But it was a very interesting interview with him. And in that interview, I just find he's the way they sort of reveal themselves without revealing themselves. He talks about, he met General Bahran a day or a couple of hours apparently before he announced the coup d'etat.
Wow.
And he says, I am very disappointed. We talked about how he was concerned about government's inabilities and security issues and blah, blah, blah. But I told him that, there are great important steps are taken. And that's where we get to the key regarding the restructuring of 85 million debt that Sudan owes. And, that's the concern. That's the concern, the neoliberal reforms, that's I mean, I don't know enough to say that restructuring is necessarily neoliberal. I have not looked into this, but in this interview, and then he, when he said that, you just could definitely see where their priorities lie.
Very, 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 very nice observation you made there.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I don't know what to say.
No,
but yeah, so that was check out the interview. It was interesting because he also talks about he had meetings with, it's interesting to know what these people are thinking. There seems to be more on Sudan. I found more substantive stuff on Sudan than Ethiopia, which I was surprising.
Oh, I mean, very true. I mean, because the
more detailed.
Yeah, but I mean, the South Sudan one is very, it's not South Sudan. Sorry, the Sudan one is happening right now. So I guess that's why there's maybe more information and details emerging. Because the Ethiopia one has been going on for years.
No, it's just more details on people and
on people. You're
Ethiopian
right.
One, there is no information on these Ethiopian factions, parties, leaders.
No. You're 100% right. I don't have
my research.
Yeah. No. I do get that kind of impression as well. But yeah, I don't have much else to add except Sudan has had problems for a long time, different ones, civil wars and everything, which I believe led to the creation of the youngest country in the world, South Sudan, which has been in existence for about 10 years.
Oh shit! I keep always mixing South Sudan with basically I keep mixing Sudan with Somalia. It's such a sorry. Yeah.
They are close to each other.
I know, but I thought it was South Somalia for some. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it's irrelevant to this story in a way. I mean, it's not related to the latest. I mean, of course, if you start digging, I'm sure it's very much connected. But yeah, right now we're dealing about connected. Sudan anyway, and South Sudan is technically a different country now.
Yes, everything's connected and nothing ever ends. These are the two things you gotta know.
Good stuff. So on those words, maybe we can end this podcast. I don't know if you have anything else to say. This has been a nice, good, and long one.
Yeah, no, thank you. If anybody listened,
made it this far.
Yeah.
But okay,
well
people.
Done to you.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.